Welcome to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. We bring you 2 daily uploads, ensuring you never miss a moment of the action. Stay tuned, subscribe and let's dive into today's story. 026 The He family is saved. 5. No. No. Ma Fei hastily shook his head in denial. Looking at the other party's faltering and flickering eyes, He Lingsu was almost sure. Forget it. You don't have to come to work tomorrow. He Lingsu said indifferently. Ah. Miss He, listen to my explanation. He Lingsu ignored Ma Fei, turned around and left. She was already in a bad mood today, but when she encountered this kind of thing again, her emotions immediately exploded. He Lingsu usually does research on new drugs in it when he is free. It can be said that he knows everything in the compounding room like the back of his hand. Just now, when she walked into the adjustment room, she suddenly found that many things in the adjustment room had been touched. Even her clothes had been worn, exuding a strong manly smell from inside to outside. Asshole! I'm so mad! He Lingsu lost his temper while tidying up. She picked up the pharmacist's gown that had been worn by someone with tweezers, and threw it directly into the trash can. All utensils must be washed again, and the table must be wiped and disinfected. He Lingsu is a clean freak. If the current conditions did not allow it, she would even throw away everything and buy a new set. Hey? And an unwashed bottle. He Lingsu suddenly noticed that there was a used flask in an inconspicuous corner of the mixing table. Some light green liquid remained in the bottle. Hey! It's so disgusting. He Lingsu was full of disgust, put on his gloves and threw the thing directly into the trash can. But after throwing it away, He Lingsu somehow picked up the used flask from the trash can for some reason. I'm so stunned. He Lingsu laughed at himself. Recently, her mind is full of new drugs, and now she even wants to pick up unknown liquid medicines in the trash can and study them. Having said that, He Lingsu skillfully extracted some residual medicinal liquid from the flask and began to do pharmacological analysis. 10 minutes later. Fuck, this can be found, it's too bad luck. Ma Fei was packing his things with a mournful face, preparing to pack up and leave. Thinking that starting from tomorrow, it will be difficult to see the goddess in his heart again, Ma Fei is full of regrets. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have earned those hundreds of dollars, brat, you killed me. Ma Fei walked out of the charity hall with his things, and looked back reluctantly. God, can you let me take another look at my goddess? Ma Fei sighed in his heart. The next moment, a miracle happened. He Lingsu really appeared in Ma Fei's vision. Not only that, He Lingsu also ran towards him quickly, with a face full of tension, anxiety, and urgency. Ma Fei! Ma Fei! Ma Fei, where are you? Damn it, you can't really have left. I rely on. Ma Fei was stunned. His fantasy come true? Those the plots seen in those novels, seem to have really changed from fantasy to reality, and are rushing towards him step by step. A great joy and excitement rose in Ma Fei's heart, and he quickly said, He Xiao. Lingsu. Lingsu, I'm here. He Lingsu's eyes lit up when he saw Ma Fei standing at the door and waving at her excitedly. You haven't left yet. He Lingsu rushed out, grabbed Ma Fei's clothes, and said eagerly, just in time, I have something very important to ask you. Say, as long as I know, Susu. Ma Fei's face was filled with excitement and happiness. He Lingsu frowned when he heard Ma Fei addressing her, but she didn't have time to care about it at the moment. Who did you bring into the adjustment room today? I want to see him. Immediately. Immediately. Ah. Ma Fei was stunned, it seemed a bit different from the lines he had imagined. Are you deaf? I said I wanted to see the man you brought into the mixing room today. If you can find him, I promise, not only can you continue to work in Xing Shantang, but your salary will be doubled. Oh. Ma Fei woke up like a dream, hurriedly took out his mobile phone. I have his contact information. Give it to me. He Lingsu is anxious to death now, lest he delay every minute. It's no wonder that she behaved like this, mainly because the results of the pharmacological analysis report she just detected. It's amazing. The effect of nourishing blood is more than 10 times that of the blood supplementing drugs currently on the market that cost less than 100,000 yuan, and it also has the effects of whitening, muscle building, and so on. Not only that, according to the analysis results, the main components involved in this liquid medicine are all relatively common medicinal materials on the market. According to preliminary estimates, the manufacturing cost of this liquid medicine is no more than 5,000 yuan. The most important thing is that there is currently no tonic on the market that overlaps with it. In other words, this is a new drug. A new type of tonic that has just been developed and is not yet on the market. Combining various factors, He Lingsu seemed to see an unprecedented business opportunity beckoning to her. The He family may be saved. 027 Master, 6. Hoo. The small room almost becomes a steamer. Strong white air filled the entire room, and if someone stepped into it, they would almost think they had entered a sauna. Sheng is the source of this white gas. Every pore on his body was emitting thick heat, his whole body was like a kettle that had been boiled. In the hazy water vapor, the muscles on Sheng's body could be seen shaking slowly and rhythmically. It seems to be breathing, becoming fuller a little bit. The explosive power contained under the skin can be felt even with the naked eye. Soon, Sheng finished the last move. But he didn't open his eyes, but just sat there. His chest heaved up and down, a large amount of white air was inhaled from his nose, and then exhaled from his mouth, like spirit snakes swimming in the room. I don't know how long it lasted. The water vapor in the room gradually dissipated, and Sheng slowly opened his eyes. This stellar body refining technique is worthy of being the most powerful body refining technique 10,000 years later, and it has developed the potential of the human body so much that it is simply unimaginable. If this continues, maybe a star can really be bred in my body. The natural breathing method is also amazing enough. It seems to have a strong recovery ability. Without the cooperation of this breathing method, the effect of body training would not be so good. Sheng clenched his fists hard, feeling the explosive power between his fingers and palms, his face showing a bit of joy. The vitality has increased a lot. The effect of Lingji's Wangxiu decoction is very good. With my current physique, it is almost enough to drink 2 servings a day, and I can't absorb any more. Calculated in this way, 12 medicinal soups are enough for me to drink for 6 days. After 6 days, I will find a way to prepare some more. Jingle bell. The mobile phone beside him suddenly rang. Sheng picked up the phone. When? A week from now. Before the other party could speak, Sheng hung up the phone with a calm face. It was the young man in the charity hall who secretly rented his adjustment room to call him. The other party said what the eldest lady of their Xingshan hall wanted to see him now. Sheng said yes, but the time must be the next time he needs to use the mixing room. Next, it's time to concentrate on practicing. Sheng never forgot what he was carrying on his shoulders. How? What did the other party say? He Lingsu stared at Ma Fei expectantly. Hey, give me the phone, and I'll tell him myself. He Lingsu snatched Ma Fei's cell phone directly, and before he could answer it, he heard Ma Fei's helpless voice. It's already hung up. Then call back. He Lingsu didn't give up, but soon she heard a prompt from the mobile phone that the user you dialed has turned off. Ah, I'm so anxious to death. He Lingsu thumped Ma Fei's cell phone twice as if venting, which made Ma Fei next to him look pained. Miss, that's my mobile phone, if I want to smash you, I'll smash your own. Miss in fact, that person has already agreed to meet us. What? He Lingsu's beautiful eyes lit up, really? What did he say? He said yes, but in a week's time. 1 week. The surprise on He Ling's face quickly faded. 1 week is too long, too many variables, no way. He Ling shook his head. She had just experienced the thing of being taken first, but she was only half a day late. 1 week? The day lily is cold. Miss He, now it's not about whether we can do it, but whether the other party can do it. The initiative lies with the person. Ma Fei patiently explained to He Lingsu. Of course I know that the initiative is not with us. He Lingsu said coldly, it's just that I can't wait for this week. He Lingsu ordered Ma Fei, from now on, you will be responsible for helping me find that master, the sooner the better. I will reward you 5,000 for completing the task 1 day earlier. No, $10,000. Real. Hearing that there was a reward, Ma Fei immediately cheered up. Miss He, you must keep your word. When do I say nothing too much? He Lingsu was a little impatient. Her current mood was both excited and nervous, eager and frightened. It was difficult to describe the emotion of worrying about gains and losses. Ma Fei happily counted how many rewards he could get, then suddenly remembered, and said worriedly, Miss He, are you making a mistake? The person who asked me to borrow the allocation room was only in his teens, or a high school student. Will it really be the pharma master you mentioned? Student. He Lingsu frowned slightly, and whispered to himself, then maybe there is a master pharmacy standing behind him. Oh. Ma Fei nodded with a vague understanding. Scholarship. At the dinner table, Lu Dahai, Zheng Yufen, and Lu Qinghe stared at Lu Sheng with wide eyes, as if they were listening to him telling a story. You mean, you bought this thing for me with a scholarship? Holding a white flashlight-like instrument, Lu Dahai asked again in disbelief. It's a blood moxibustion instrument. Lu Sheng corrected, and then took out another 2,000 yuan and put it on the table. There is still 2,000 yuan left, and I will use it for my mother's food expenses. Is there any left? Lu Dahai's eyes widened, wondering whether his eyes were dazzled or his ears heard wrong. Zheng Yufen was overjoyed. She put $2,000 into her arms, and hugged Lu Sheng and babbled. My son can get a scholarship too. It's amazing. Lu Qinghe next to him couldn't help muttering, what kind of scholarship can have so much money? What kind of scholarship can you get? Study Progress Award. My blood value has risen rapidly during this period, so I was awarded. Lu Sheng didn't bat an eye when he told a lie. Lu Qinghe obviously didn't believe it, and wanted to say a few more words, but after meeting Lu Sheng's eyes, he closed his mouth again. Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen obviously believed it. The main reason is that Lu Sheng has changed a lot recently, especially his appetite. It's amazing. They have seen all these changes, plus the good thing that their son has won an award, so they have no reason to doubt it. It would be nice to keep the money to buy tonics. What kind of blood and instruments to buy? Isn't this a waste of money? Oh, my son won a scholarship for the first time, so what's wrong with buying you a gift? Besides, you've been complaining about your backache recently, and it just happened to be useful. I watched TV and said, this thing works really well. How could it be better? Lu Dahai talked about waste, but in fact, he was happy in his heart. Before I finished the meal, I took the blood moxibustion instrument and ran to the sofa alone to tinker. Her mother, Zheng Yufen, also beamed, counting the $2,000 over and over again like a baby, thinking that she would save it for Lu so that she could use it for college. Lu Sheng saw all this in his eyes, and his heart was peaceful and soft. He practiced so desperately because he wanted his family to live a better life. Let Father Lu Dahai feel more relaxed, let Mother Zheng Yufen not have to worry about money every day, let Sister Lu Qinghe. Lu Sheng turned his head and glanced at Lu Qinghe. Lu Qinghe was staring at him furtively. After noticing his eyes, he immediately turned his head to the side, pretending to be indifferent and nonchalant. Well, Lu Qinghe doesn't count for now, let's talk about it later when she becomes sensible. Lu Sheng silently added a sentence in his heart. Add more. Ask for various. 028 heroic spirits are immortal, and the stars are powerful. 1. Base 1359. Lu Sheng stood in the middle of a dilapidated street. 10 meters away from him, stood a tall zombie. This zombie was missing a left arm, and there was a huge wound more than 30 centimeters long on his chest. It tilted its head slightly, its empty eye sockets staring at one direction for a long time. Lu Sheng looked in that direction, and he saw the huge gap in the city wall that he passed by when he came. Lu Sheng was silent for a moment, then slowly took a step forward. This step seemed to touch a certain mechanism, and the quiet one-armed zombie suddenly turned its head to look at him. Without any words, the latter rushed towards him quickly. With calm eyes, Lu Sheng took a deep breath and leaned slightly to meet him. Two figures collided fiercely in the empty and dilapidated street. One touch and instant. One of the figures stepped back a few steps. Lu Sheng looked slightly condensed. This one-armed zombie was an opponent he had chosen for a long time, and the dangerous aura it brought him was not particularly strong. But even so, Lu Sheng was still at a disadvantage in an instant when he met him face to face. At least twice as powerful as me. Lu Sheng didn't panic. Countless experiences and skills surged in his mind. He punched calmly, parrying every attack of the one-armed zombie precisely and appropriately. The speed and strength of the one-armed zombie are stronger than Lu Sheng, and they are tireless and painless. But its weaknesses are equally obvious. It is missing an arm, has no intelligence, and can only fight according to the fighting instinct left in its muscle memory. Lu Sheng now has the possibility of defeating it head-on. Call. Lu Sheng moved flexibly to dodge the fist of the one-armed zombie. Taking advantage of the gap that the opponent showed at this moment, Lu Sheng clenched his right fist and punched the one-armed zombie hard on the forehead. The punch followed a perfect arc, and during the punch, the muscles in Lu Sheng's arm moved as fast as a living thing. Boom! The head of the one-armed zombie exploded directly. The power of this punch far exceeded the power of any punch Lu Sheng had before. And a lot. The one-armed zombie crashed down. Lu Sheng walked up to it, looked at its mutilated body, and chanted in a low voice. Heroic spirits are immortal. The body of the one-armed zombie quickly weathered, and a lifetime of experience and skills melted into Lu Sheng's body as a black line of smoke. Lu Sheng absorbed it silently. Today, he no longer regards these zombies as the monsters that gave him level-up experience, but has an inexplicable mood. Admiration, remembrance, or commitment. Every time Lu Sheng absorbed the memory of a zombie, the responsibility on his shoulders became heavier and his feet became firmer. 5th level powerhouse. Lu Sheng absorbed the memory of the one-armed zombie, and learned from the memory that the other party was a 5th level warrior before his death. Moreover, he is a 5th level powerhouse who is especially good at boxing. The perception of boxing in his memory directly allows Lu Sheng to take a big step forward in the new realm of boxing after the breakthrough. No wonder the strength of the fist is so strong, and I don't know if I have reached the standard of a 2nd level warrior. Lu Sheng has been practicing stellar body refining technique, natural breathing method and crystal conception for nearly a week, and he is almost finished drinking the Ling Mushin strengthening blood soup. He felt that his qi and blood value had increased a lot, but Lu Sheng didn't know exactly how much he had increased. Even if the qi and blood value does not reach the standard of a 2nd level warrior, the combat power must have reached it. If you use the secret method just now, combined with the natural breathing method. The secret method that Lu Sheng refers to is actually a technique of exerting force. Very brilliant power-generating skills are recorded in the introductory chapter of Stellar Body Refining Technique. This kind of power-generating technique can allow warriors to explode several times, dozens of times, or even hundreds of times more than normal, and their combat effectiveness will directly skyrocket. However, this kind of exertion technique requires a lot of physical fitness of the user, and Liu Sheng can only achieve quadruple exertion now. It was also very scary. It is equivalent to letting a first-level warrior burst into combat power equivalent to a second-level warrior, or even a third-level warrior in an instant in actual combat. This effect is simply against the sky. If it spreads in reality, it will definitely cause a sensation in the martial arts leagues all over the world. Liu Sheng directly named this method of exerting force, stellar force. Waking up from the dream, Liu Sheng opened his eyes. His brain is very clear, without the slightest sense of fatigue. Liu Sheng discovered this early on. He cultivated in a dream, and while fighting, his brain and body were also resting. This is equivalent to him spending twice as much time as ordinary people to practice martial arts, which can be regarded as his unique advantage. After waking up, I continued with the stellar body training technique, the natural breathing method, and practiced the crystal concept for a while. After a week, Liu Sheng's progress in the idea of the crystal concept is quite gratifying. He has almost successfully built a crystal human figure and has reached the official entry point. After some practice, Liu Sheng went to take a shower, only to find that none of the family members were at home after the shower. Looking at the time, it was only after 8 o'clock in the morning. Liu Sheng thought about it and decided to go out. It's been a long time since I tested my qi, blood, and combat power. I just went to test it. If it meets the standard, I'll pass the warrior assessment by the way. Ask for flowers, evaluation votes, comments, thank you. 029 blood value, 15 plus. 2. Let me rent the test equipment, thank you. It's still the same place, Hongchuan Wuguan. The pretty girl at the front desk stared at Liu Sheng's face for a while, then smiled and said, "Brother, you're here again? Is it because the midterm exam is coming soon, so you care about the result?" It can be seen that this beautiful girl at the front desk already knows herself. Is it very frequent? Liu Sheng was taken aback for a moment, but quickly realized. Yes, this is the third time I have come here this month. He himself felt that every time he came to the test after his strength had increased by a relatively large margin, but that was because his strength had grown too fast. For normal people, 3 times a month is already a lot. It takes about a week or so to test. Even the schools that care most about students' grades only test once a month monthly exams. Because qi and blood fluctuate, unless you test it every day, the results of repeated tests in a short period of time will be inaccurate. Unless it is the kind of martial arts genius whose qi and blood increase rapidly, there will be a relatively obvious increase in qi and blood every few days. Haha, yes. Liu Sheng had no words to respond to the teasing of the girl at the front desk, so he could only vaguely and perfunctorily pass it on. Walking into the familiar testing room, Liu Sheng randomly found an instrument. It just so happened that there was no one in the room, which was convenient for him to play. It's better to test the blood first. This is a point that Liu Sheng is more concerned about. Liu Sheng took the blood and put it in the groove of the blood tester. Soon, with a soft beep from the machine, a value jumped out. 15.632. It has grown so much. Liu Sheng himself was startled. Fortunately, he thought that he could not reach the standard of a second-level martial artist, but the result was far more than that. If you think about it carefully, the supreme martial arts in the future 10,000 years of martial arts, plus the most advanced tonic in the next 10,000 years. With the 2 blessings, it would be strange if he didn't have such an exaggerated increase. Let's test the combat power again. There was a gleam of light in Liu Sheng's eyes, and he punched hard at the force measuring instrument in front of him. Test normality first. Boom. There was a muffled sound, and a value jumped out on the screen of the force measuring instrument. 3137. So tall. Liu Sheng was taken aback. Because of absorbing a lot of combat skills and experience, his combat power index has always exceeded the corresponding blood value standard. But the extent of the excess this time was too great. Fully twice the standard. It was completely unexpected by Liu Sheng. Maybe it's because of boxing. Liu Sheng thought for a while, and quickly found a clue. His boxing realm had broken through once before, and he never tested his combat power after that time. It is estimated that the boxing technique of the new realm has increased his combat effectiveness, resulting in a soaring combat effectiveness. In this case, my ultimate combat power will be much higher than I expected. Liu Sheng got a little excited, and he decided to test again. This time, he decided to use the Stellar Force technique. 5 minutes later, Liu Sheng came out of the dynamometer room. The expression is calm, showing no emotion or anger. "Brother, is the test over? Are you satisfied with the results?" The girl at the front desk greeted him with a smile. Liu Sheng smiled slightly, his handsome face made people feel like a spring breeze. "Very satisfied." The girl at the front desk blinked playfully, "Then I wish you the best of luck in your exam." "Thanks." Liu Sheng waved his hand and strode out of the martial arts hall. The girl at the front desk looked at the back of Liu Sheng leaving, and muttered with a smile, "You kid who pretends to be cool, you look pretty when you smile." "Who are you talking about?" A voice suddenly came from behind the girl, startling the girl. The girl turned her head to look at the speaker, and immediately stood up. "Senior sister Ni." Ni Shuang stared at the direction Liu Sheng was leaving with interest in her eyes. She saw Liu Sheng when he was going out, and recognized him as the little genius from Poor People who had surprised her once before. "Is this person just here for a test?" "Yeah, I've been here 3 times this month. I guess I'm nervous about the midterm exam." The girl at the front desk said solemnly. Ni Shuang said casually, "Which machine did he measure? Take me to have a look." Ni Shuang had nothing to do, and she was a little curious about whether Liu Sheng had made any progress during this time. "Okay, senior sister Ni." The girl at the front desk quickly led Ni Shuang to the instrument that Liu Sheng had just used. He was the only one who used this instrument today, and the data can be easily found. The girl at the front desk called out the data for Ni Shuang while talking. A few seconds later, Liu Sheng's test result popped up. "Wait for the two to see the data displayed above." "Ah!" The girl at the front desk let out a scream, her beautiful eyes widened instantly, and she covered her mouth with one hand. Ni Shuang's face changed even more abruptly, with a look of extreme shock and disbelief written all over her face, and her eyes showed a deep sense of disbelief, as if she couldn't believe her own eyes. "This instrument, is it broken?" Ni Shuang spoke with a difficult tone. The girl at the front desk was stunned for a few seconds before she reacted abruptly and blurted out, "Impossible, it was overhauled yesterday." "That means?" Ni Shuang took a deep breath, trying to calm down the turbulent waves aroused in her heart, and said slowly, "This achievement is real." The girl at the front desk nodded blankly. Half a minute later, Ni Shuang's voice could be heard from the test room, which could be heard even in the martial arts hall. "Now, immediately, find me the boy who just tested. Let everyone go. He often comes to our Hongchuan martial arts school, he must not live far away, there must be someone nearby who knows him. Go." "Yes, senior sister Ni." Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. 030 Assessment, 3. Master, please go to the Warrior Association. Liu Sheng got into the taxi and reported his destination. The taxi driver was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He glanced at Liu Sheng in the rearview mirror and said with a smile, "Young man, are you going to the Wuxi Association for business?" Looking at Liu Sheng's age, he really couldn't connect Liu Sheng with the martial artist assessment. Liu Sheng also realized this, nodded with a smile, and said, "Yes, looking for someone." Hearing Liu Sheng's answer, the taxi driver immediately got excited and started talking. "Young man, Depending on your age, you should be in the third year of high school this year. My daughter is about the same age as you. She is a senior in high school this year. Tisk tisk tisk, that blood value is so worrying for us. The taxi driver was obviously a chatterbox. He talked about everything from the college entrance examination to university, and then from university to employment, chattering endlessly, which almost annoyed Liu Sheng to death. The key point is that Liu Sheng was too embarrassed not to respond to him, and would ask yes and master, you are right from time to time. On the surface, Liu Sheng pretended to be listening to the taxi driver very seriously, but in fact he regretted it very much. I knew I should tell him that I went to the Warrior Association to participate in the second-level Warrior Certification Assessment. In this way, he must think that my brain is sick, and he doesn't want to talk to me. Liu Sheng thought silently in his heart. Finally arrived at the destination, Liu Sheng paid the fare, got out of the car quickly, and let out a long sigh of relief. The taxi driver poked his head out of the cab and said goodbye to Liu Sheng warmly. Young man, it's a pleasure chatting with you. Next time we meet, I'll introduce my daughter to you. Liu Sheng smiled and nodded politely, thinking to himself, I hope there will be no next time. Turning around, it was Wuxi. It was a rather grand building, with the signboard of Beihai City Martial Artists Association standing at the door. Liu Sheng walked in calmly. Walking into the lobby of the Martial Arts Association, there are not many people inside, and it can be seen that there are still not many people who have the opportunity to come here. Liu Sheng followed the notice posted on the wall all the way to find the window in charge of the martial artist assessment and identification, and processed it. Participate in the first-level martial artist certification assessment. The staff at the window looked at Liu Sheng's ID card and took a special look at him. Liu Sheng nodded. It stands to reason that his current strength can already apply for the second level, but Liu Sheng went around and couldn't find a window for handling the second-level martial artist assessment. Fill out the form, then pay 1,000 yuan for the assessment fee, and then go over there. The staff at the window explained Liu Sheng patiently and carefully. After all, Liu Sheng is here to participate in the martial artist assessment, no matter whether he can pass or not, at least he must have certain confidence in his own strength. Considering Liu Sheng's age, he might still be a young genius, so there's nothing wrong with having a better attitude. After Liu Sheng filled out the form, paid the money, and followed the staff's guidance, he came to the door of a room with a Warrior Examination Room sign. Walking in, 3 or 4 people were sitting inside. An examiner in overalls glanced at Liu and said, "Give me the watch, and find a seat for yourself." Liu Sheng handed over the form in his hand, and then found a corner to finish it. After Liu Sheng came in, after waiting for a while, several people came in one after another. One of them had a centipede-like scar hanging on his face, a strong man with a fierce face, and a pure-looking girl with a purple headband that attracted the most attention. Liu Sheng glanced at the girl with the purple hairband and felt that she was about the same age as him. It just so happened that the girl was also looking at him, and the two of them moved their eyes away after interlacing their eyes for a while. The people in the room looked at each other, but in fact Liu Sheng was also in the attention of others. Because among all the people who participated in the assessment, he and the girl were the youngest. Okay, everyone is here, let's start first. The examiner saw that the seats in the room were full, and announced the official start of the assessment. The first one, Li Xingji, the first-level warrior assessment. A tall and thin young man stood up from his seat and walked to the testing equipment in the middle of the room. You should know how to test, first measure the vitality and blood, and then measure the combat power index. There are a total of 3 chances to measure the combat effectiveness index, in case you are too nervous to perform normally. Examiner explained. The thin and tall young man nodded and replied, understood. Then, he started testing. It can be seen that as the first person in the room to test, the young man is still a little nervous. I held the blood collection needle several times while measuring qi and blood, but no blood was drawn. But fortunately it passed. Blood value 1.531. It's a pity that the following combat index test youth failed to meet the standard 3 times in a row. In fact, it was a little bit close. The results of the 3 times were more than 140. I don't know if it was too nervous or not strong enough. The assessment failed. How could it be? How could it be? The thin and tall young man who was washed down had a pale face, lost his mind, and kept muttering, obviously when I tested at home, I exceeded 150 every time. Seeing his appearance, the examiner couldn't bear it, and said, the instruments of the Martial Arts Association are officially customized, and they are more accurate and rigorous than those sold outside. You still have some strength, go back and settle down for a month, it will probably be enough for you next time. The tall and thin young man nodded, pursed his lips and quickly walked out of the room. Things like emotions are contagious. When the rest of the people saw the first tall and thin young man who failed the assessment, their expressions became tense and serious. Ask for a monthly ticket for flower evaluation tickets. Thank you everyone. 031 exploded. 4. Zhao Chongfeng. The examiner reads a name. A burly figure stood up slowly, it was the fierce-looking man with scars on his face. Isn't he coming later? Why can he be ranked second? Someone cried out in disbelief. The examiner looked at him coldly, and said, because I just saw his application form now, he should have been ranked first. The people in the room were stunned for a moment, not understanding the meaning of the examiner's words. Then they heard the examiner speak the rest of the words. Third-level warrior assessment. Hiss. There was a sudden gasp in the room. Everyone looked at the scarred man in shock, with a trace of awe in their eyes. 3-level warrior assessment. In other words, this man possesses the strength of a second level and close to third-level warrior. No wonder the examiner said that he should have been number 1. In the world of warriors, strength is paramount, and the strong should enjoy their own privileges. The man with the scar walked silently to the testing equipment, took blood, and tested. A number quickly popped up on the blood measuring instrument. 107.256. The people in the room looked terrified. A qi and blood value of more than 100 means that the man with the scar has met the standard of a third-level warrior in terms of qi and blood. Then measure the combat effectiveness index. The man with the scar faced the test instrument and punched it. The speed of this punch was so fast that many people didn't see it clearly. They only felt a blur in front of their eyes and a muffled sound in their ears before it was over. Liu Sheng's eyes flickered. He saw the man's punch clearly. The way he starts and punches seems to come from a certain boxing style. 10831. A value popped up on the force gauge. There was a slight gasp in the room. Pass. The combat effectiveness index has exceeded the standard of a third-level warrior. This also means that from now on, the man with the scar is a third-level official martial artist recognized by the Martial Arts Association. Now everyone's eyes on the man with the scar changed a bit. Admiration, but also with a trace of envy. A third-level martial artist can be regarded as the number 1 figure in the entire Beihe city. No matter where you go, you can get good treatment. Congratulations, Zhao Chongfeng. From now on, you are a third-level warrior recognized by our Beihe City Warrior Association, and you can enjoy a monthly martial arts allowance of 30,000 yuan. For the first time, the examiner showed a bright smile on his face. As he spoke, people in the room looked at the man with the scar more enviously. The scarred man silently listened to the examiner's words, then walked back to his original position and sat down. Liu Sheng gave him a strange look. This guy didn't leave after the assessment, and he looked like he was going to watch to the end. Of course, no one will have a problem with that. For a third-level martial artist, it doesn't matter if he sits here until dark. As long as he is happy. Then a few more people went up for the test, all of them were first-level warriors. Some pass, others fail like the lanky youth. Finally, Liu Sheng, the first-level warrior assessment. It's Liu Sheng's turn. Liu Sheng stood up calmly. He noticed that everyone in the room was looking at him. Among them are the man with the scar and the girl with the purple headband. Even the examiner looked at him a few more times. After all, there are not many examiners at Liu Sheng's age, which in itself represents talent. Don't be nervous, just come as you usually do. It was rare for the examiner to speak softly. Liu Sheng nodded, then picked up the needle to draw blood. The bright red blood gently rolled down into the groove of the blood measuring instrument, and the blue light of the test fell. Everyone looked at the display on the instrument. Some serious, some casual. The next moment, the value is displayed. 15.701. Boom! The whole room exploded in an instant. More than half of the people jumped up from their positions, and the man with the scar and the girl with the purple hairband also stood up abruptly. One of them with a casual face even slid to the ground. Fuck! It's real or fake, am I right? It's past 15 o'clock. Second level warrior. Is the machine broken? It should be broken. Everyone stared at the value on the blood measuring instrument in disbelief, their eyes gliding back and forth between the instrument and Liu Sheng. Even the inspector's hand holding the form shook violently, and then he quickly checked the machine. Then he said to Liu Sheng very seriously, "Student, can you please take the test again? It stands to reason that there is only one chance to test the qi and blood value, but the result Liu Sheng measured was so amazing that he had to confirm it again." Liu Sheng nodded, picked up the needle and took another drop of blood for testing. 15.693. Similar to the first time, the fluctuation does not exceed 0.01. This proves that everything is fine with the instrument, and it also proves that Liu Sheng's results are real. The room fell into an inexplicable silence. Then, the sound of gasping for air began to sound one after another. The way a group of people looked at Liu Sheng changed completely. Like watching a monster. This guy. Dad is the richest man in Beihe City, how many tonics have he taken? A person stared at Liu Sheng with a complicated face, and choked out a sentence for a long time. The others looked at Liu Sheng with similar expressions. Same as constipation. Liu Sheng was so young that he could tell at a glance that he was a high school student. How old can a high school student be? 17? 18? Like their nephews, or even their sons. As a result, the value of qi and blood was as high as more than 15 points, an exaggerated to outrageous value. This guy started taking tonics after he was born. Someone spoke sourly. A person next to him muttered, even if it's just a high blood value, it's more than 15 points in real terms. As long as the combat power is a little bit passable. Tisk tisk tisk, 18 years old, a second-level warrior. The others stopped talking. That's right, even if Liu Sheng is really a pot of medicine, but with a blood base of 15.7 points here, no matter how bad the combat power is, it won't be much worse. In other words, Liu Sheng basically passed the examination steadily. And it is very likely to be the assessment of the second-level warrior. A high school student becomes a level 2 martial artist. These people almost groaned. Ask for flower evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, and comments, please support, thank you. 032 Exaggerated Combat Power Index. Rituals of the Strong, 5. The expressions of the man with the scar and the girl with the purple hairband are also extremely complicated. The performance of the two was considered calm among all people, but the shock on their faces and eyes still couldn't be hidden. At this time, the examiner's attitude towards Liu Sheng has reached a new level. Become extremely gentle. Don't be nervous, just relax. You can take the Combat Power Index test as many times as you like, and play the one you are most satisfied with. The others twitched as they listened. Didn't it say that everyone can only test 3 times? What do you mean, you can take as many times as you like? Lu Sheng took a deep breath and said to the examiner, no, just once. The examiner was stunned, but still hadn't reacted. Then I saw Lu Sheng punching. Others just saw a hand gesture. In the entire room, only the man with the scar suddenly shot out a frightened light in his eyes, and he subconsciously took 2 steps forward. Boom! There was a dull bang, louder than the scar man's test just now. Everyone's heart beat violently with the loud noise. Wait for them to see the numbers displayed on the force measuring instrument. Just for a moment. Everyone is stunned. The mouth is wide open, the eyes are dull, and the expression is like seeing a ghost. 1, 1, 1. The examiner tried to read the number with a dull expression. Soon he realized that he had read countless ones. Shut up quickly, and then read it quickly. 15709. 5 digits. The fighting power is over 10,000. More than 15,700, close to 16,000. Far beyond the combat power index standard of a second-level fighter, he directly reached the third-level field, which is a full 5,000 more than the test result of the scarred man before. There was a deathly silence in the room. Everyone stood up and stood still in one motion. The man with the scar clenched his thick knuckle palms into fists, his eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe it. The girl with the purple hairband tightly covered her mouth with one hand, for fear that she would cry out. Others' brains were buzzing even more. Like the lack of oxygen, the brain had long lost the ability to think. When something exceeds the scope of one's cognition and understanding too much, the human brain will fall into a short-term deadlock state. Obviously, these people are in such a state now. Lu Sheng was not surprised by this result at all. He had already tested it once in the Hongchuan Martial Arts Hall. That time it was more than 15,600, which was a little lower than the current measurement. The boxing technique after breaking the bottleneck, combined with stellar power, and natural breathing method, my combat power index directly reached 10 times the standard of blood value. Is this the charm of martial arts skills? Lu Sheng sighed in his heart. After admiring his results, Lu Sheng turned to look at the examiner. Okay, there is no need to take the second test. The examiner nodded subconsciously as if waking up from a dream, and then read out his usual lines. Congratulations Lu Sheng, you have successfully passed the examination of a first-level martial artist. From now on, you are. The examiner couldn't continue reading halfway through. The main reason is that he doesn't know what level to rate Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng applied for the first-level martial artist assessment, but his real strength is far beyond the first level, or even second level. The combat power is exaggerated to level 3. How should this be judged by the other party? Level 1 or level 2, or level 3? The examiner looked embarrassed. If this situation is not handled properly, it may cause Lu Sheng's dissatisfaction. And to offend such a talented martial artist with a bright future, don't even think about his job. Thinking of this, the examiner quickly said to Lu Sheng, about your grade evaluation, I need to report it and discuss it before making a decision. Don't worry, Lu Sheng, the Martial Arts Association will not bury any talent, oh no, a genius. Especially with a genius like you. Lu Sheng was a little stunned, but he quickly accepted the result. It means let him go back and wait for the notice. Then can I go back first? Lu Sheng wanted to ask a few more questions, but found that the examiner had already run out of the assessment room, leaving most of the people who hadn't taken the assessment alone. Lu Sheng was helpless and could only shake his head, ready to go out. When he was about to reach the door, a figure suddenly stood in front of him. It was the man with the scar on his face. Zhao Chongfeng. The man held out a hand to him, his eyes burning. Lu Sheng hesitated for a moment, then reached out and shook the scarred man. Lu Sheng. After Liu Sheng said his name, an uncontrollable excitement flashed in the eyes of the scarred man, as if he had received some kind of honor. He nodded and took the initiative to make way for Liu Sheng. Liu Sheng was thoughtful. Is this a gesture? Or make friends? He didn't know much about the rules among warriors, but he subconsciously thought of a knowledge point he saw in a history book. In the ancient martial arts era, every warrior regarded it as an honor to meet more powerful warriors. Does Zhao Chongfeng mean that? Wang Damon. Out of the corner of Liu Sheng's eye, he saw another person running towards him with outstretched hands in the room, and other people who reacted seemed to have this tendency. He quickly fled out of the assessment classroom. This kind of etiquette is a bit interesting for one person, but it becomes a joke for too many people. Besides, what kind of cats and dogs are the remaining guys? Seeing the back of Liu Sheng running out of the room, many people showed regretful expressions on their faces and slapped their thighs hard. A genius with terrifying talent like Liu Sheng. Even if you think about it with your ass, you can know that in the near future, this name will surely resound throughout Beihe City. And such a good opportunity to get to know important people in Beihe City in the future was missed by them in vain. The intestines will regret it. Apart from remorse, some people can't help but secretly envy Zhao Chongfeng, who was the first to come out. Seeing Zhao Changfeng's face regaining his composure on the surface, but in fact the corners of his eyes were filled with joy that could not be hidden, everyone couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. He really deserves to be a third-level martial artist, his brain is so fast. Please, please, Flowers evaluation ticket, monthly ticket, and comments. 033 I see your brother walking out of the examination room. 6. Gagan. Liu Sheng walked around the Martial Arts Association Hall, feeling that there was nothing to do, so he was ready to go home. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard someone calling him from behind. Liu Sheng. Liu Sheng turned his head and saw 3 girls standing not far away. The 3 girls were about the same age, all a little younger than him, and the one standing in the middle looked at him with a complicated expression. Who would it be if it wasn't younger sister Liu Qinghe? Liu Qinghe? Why are you here? Liu Sheng walked towards Liu Qinghe and the 3 of them. I should be the one asking you this sentence. Liu Qinghe retorted angrily, skip class, don't go to school, sleep in the room every day, and now what do you come to the Warrior Association? Liu Qinghe stared at Liu Sheng with the expression of a detective. Liu Sheng was slightly embarrassed. It's fine if you skip classes and don't go to school, but even Liu Qinghe knows that he stays in the room and sleeps most of the time? It seems that my younger sister is very concerned about me recently. Liu Sheng prevaricated, come to do something, now it's over. Who will believe it? Liu Qinghe snorted. At this time, a girl with a round face and a pink hairpin beside Liu Qinghe looked at Liu Sheng and said, Qinghe, this is your brother? He's pretty handsome. After speaking, she blushed and turned her head away. Another girl with a slimmer figure also echoed, yeah, it's not as frustrating as you usually say, it's clearly a little big brother. It's still a top-notch little big brother. You too. Liu Qinghe looked at the 2 good girlfriends who had betrayed one after another, and was almost speechless with anger. The boy who knows how to eat and sleep all day, is handsome, with 2 faces. Liu Sheng saw that Liu Qinghe was deflated, and he felt a lot better. He stretched out his hand and said to the girl, Hi, I'm Liu Sheng, Liu Qinghe's younger sister. Qinghe must have caused you a lot of trouble, right? You're the one who causes trouble. Liu Qinghe talked back angrily. The 2 little girls were easy to talk to, and the slender one nodded with a smile. Hi Liu Sheng big brother, my name is Feng Fanfan, and my friends call me Fanfan. This is Sunyo. Qinghe does cause us a lot of trouble, but we are good friends, and we should take care of her. Feng Fanfan. Liu Qinghe had an expression of going crazy. Really just borrow the donkey down the slope. What does it mean that you really don't cause less trouble? Usually in school, whoever is like your own mother pulls the two of you with shit and pee. It's fine to black her, but it's too much to black her in front of the brother I hate the most. Sheng greeted the two little girls with a smile. After chatting for a few words, we talked about the topic at the beginning again. What are you doing here? King he rolled his eyes at him, obviously not wanting to answer. It was the girl named Sunyo who quickly explained, we came here with senior sister Yang Yuan. Senior sister Yang Yuan is our senior sister in the martial arts club and has a good relationship with us. Yeah, senior sister Yang Yuan is amazing. She is a genius ranked in the top 3 in our school. This time I am here to participate in the first level warrior assessment. Sister Yang Yuan must pass. The two little girls made things clear with each sentence. After Sheng understood it clearly, he looked up at the clock and said, since you are waiting for someone, then I will not hinder you. I will invite you to dinner next time we meet. Good Sheng big brother. Who wants you to treat me to dinner? The two cheerful voices were mixed with King He's powerless stubborn mouth. Sheng smiled slightly, reached out and rubbed King He's head, which made King He blushed and wanted to hit him, and then left the Martial Arts Association without looking back. Mad. King He straightened her hair that was messed up by Sheng, and said something angrily. There was a strange ripple in my heart. She vaguely remembered that Sheng liked to rub her hair like this when she was young, and the relationship between the two of them was still very good at that time. Later, I don't know when it started, but the relationship faded away. But just now, it seemed that he had returned to the past in an instant. King He, your brother looks very good, he is tall, white and handsome, but he is not like a butter boy, very sunny. Feng Fanfan looked at the direction where Sheng left, smacked his lips and sighed, as if he was still thinking about something. Yeah. Sunyo beside him also nodded frantically, and echoed, he's a god. You two are blind. King He felt powerless. Oh, right. Feng Fanfan suddenly remembered something, and said, what do you think your brother is doing in the Martial Arts Association? I just saw him walk out of the martial arts assessment room. Is your brother also here to participate in the martial artist assessment, just like senior sister Yang Yuan? Sunyo interrupted. How can it be? King He looked at the two of you with the eyes that you two are sick and can't be cured, and said, my brother is a student of Beihe No. 3 middle school, and he doesn't go to class every day, can he participate in the warrior assessment? The Sao can also climb the tree. Absolutely impossible. Feng Fanfan muttered, but I did see your brother come out of the martial artist assessment room with my own eyes just now. That's why you read it wrong. King He's tone was extremely affirmative. Feng Fanfan still wanted to say something. At this moment, Sunyo looked in one direction and exclaimed in surprise, Sister Yang Yuan has come out. Thanks for the reward, add more. 034 What and number 039, the name of that monster. 1. The three of King He quickly greeted a tall, beautiful girl with a purple headband on her hair. Sister Yang Yuan, how are you? Have you passed? As soon as they met each other, King He couldn't wait to ask, his delicate face was full of anticipation. Yang Yuan is the person King He admires most in school, not one of them. The top genius of Beihe No. 1 middle school, the evildoer whose vitality and combat power index reached the standard of a first-class warrior at the age of 18, the strongest woman in the martial arts club. Numerous halos and titles have created the shining golden senior sister Yang Yuan in front of her. The faces of Feng Fanfan and Sunyo were also full of anticipation, and there was a trace of nervousness. It seems that whether Yang Yuan can pass the warrior assessment is more important than their own affairs. Yang Yuan had a strange expression on her face. It was indescribably complicated. Don't mention it, there is an accident, the assessment has been suspended, it is estimated to wait until the afternoon. Yang Yuan shook her head. Ah! The three of Lu Qinghe were a little surprised, and quickly asked, what accident? Can the assessment be suspended? Yang Yuan smiled wryly and said, a monster, evildoer. The examiner who was directly scared left us and ran away. Can the assessment not be suspended? What kind of monster, evildoer? Lu Qinghe and the three of them were in a fog. Yang Yuan sighed, and said with a complicated look in her eyes, actually, it's because of a boy, about my age, maybe a little younger than me. During the assessment, the blood value of 15.7 was measured, and there were more than 15,700 combat power. Do you think it's scary? Fortunately, I always thought I was a genius before, and I met that guy. Yang Yuan sighed faintly, I only know what a real genius is. After Lu Qinghe and the others listened to Yang Yuan's words, their three small mouths opened wide, their eyes widened, as if they had been hit by a hold spell. I was so shocked that I didn't know what expression to use. About the same age as senior sister Yang Yuan. A blood value of 15.7. 1. More than 15,700 combat power. Are there such people in the world? In other words, can such a person be considered a human being? Now they finally know why the martial artist assessment will be suspended. A monster like this appeared in the martial arts assessment. It is estimated that the entire martial arts association will be a sensation, and if it is not complete, it will be on tomorrow's morning news. Sister Yang. Feng Fanfan suddenly came to his senses and asked curiously, what's the name of this person? Do you know? Lu Qinghe and Sunyo pricked up their ears and stared closely at Yang Yuan. Yang Yuan nodded and spoke a name. Lu Sheng. That person's name is Lu Sheng. Speaking of which, I had the opportunity to meet him just now, but I was so shocked that I reacted a step slower and missed the opportunity to meet this kind of person. Hey, I don't know if we can meet again. Yang Yuan sighed, with regret on her face. As she was talking, she suddenly realized something was wrong. Looking up, the expressions of Lu Qinghe and the others became extremely strange. Especially Lu Qinghe, the whole person seemed to be in a daze. Yang Yuan blinked, feeling surprised, and was about to ask. Suddenly, I heard Sunyo faintly utter a word. Qinghe, your brother's name is Lu Sheng, right? And just walked out of the warrior assessment room. Now, it was Yang Yuan's turn to be stunned. Lu Sheng walked all the way back home. I felt a little hungry on the way, so I bought dozens of meat buns by the way. While chewing and walking slowly. When he was approaching the gate of the community, Lu Sheng saw a group of people hurriedly running across the road in front of him. Lu Sheng saw that the clothes on those people looked familiar, and after careful thought, he remembered that he seemed to have seen them in the Hongchuan Martial Arts Hall. Several ants stood at the gate of the community and looked around, discussing while watching the excitement. Who is it? Such a big battle! From Hongchuan Martial Arts, I heard that they are looking for someone. I have searched in several nearby neighborhoods, asking door to door. Who messed with Hongchuan Martial Arts? What a bad luck! If this posture is found, at least several legs will be broken. Isn't it? These martial arts practitioners are fierce. Lu Sheng heard about it, but didn't pay much attention to it. He just knew about Hongchuan martial arts and had been to it a few times. It was none of his business for Hongchuan martial arts to find someone to seek revenge. Walking all the way back to my home, I just finished eating the last bun. It was a rare opportunity for Lu Sheng to go out and relax, so he sat on the sofa and rested for a while. The phone rang once in the middle. Lu Sheng picked it up and saw that it was the guy from Xing Shantang again. He just pressed it and refused to answer it. Although the Lingji Zhuangxiu decoction was almost finished, Lu Sheng was not panicked at all. The other party is looking for him so frantically, he must be asking for something. As for what to ask him, Lu Sheng thought for a while and guessed that it had something to do with the Lingji Zhuangxiu decoction. He remembered that he left in a hurry and left a flask without cleaning it. It was probably the liquid medicine left in the flask that made the other party discover something, and that's why they wanted to find him so urgently. When Liu Sheng took out the Lingji Zhuangxiu soup, he already had a rough idea in his mind. His martial arts practice needs a lot of funds to support, and as his strength improves, he will need more and more. How the money came from naturally fell on the prescriptions in his mind. It is no bragging to say that Liu Sheng can easily exchange a lot of wealth with a random prescription for the future. But how to take it, when to take it, and to whom to take it? All aspects need to be considered. Whether Xing Shantang has this qualification and whether it is worthy of his prescription, Liu Sheng needs to investigate before deciding. As for now, Liu Sheng is eager to verify one of his guesses and ideas all the time. This matter is very important, and it is directly related to his subsequent martial arts path. Please ask for a flower evaluation ticket or something, thank you. 035 The Changed Future, Xiao Yuhi, 2. Fall Asleep. Dream World, Base 1359. Facing the optical brain, Liu Sheng calmly said, "Call out my biography." Calling. In the next second, a large amount of information was presented in front of Liu Sheng. The moment Liu Sheng saw his photo, his heart skipped a beat. Then he knew that his thoughts were right. In the photo, the original handsome and resolute middle-aged Liu Sheng has disappeared. In its place, there was an old man with grey hair and high spirits. Name, Liu Sheng. Sex, male. Lifespan, June 297 in Budo, July 383 in Budo. Martial arts strength, level 6 warrior. Life experience, became a second-level martial artist at the age of 18, causing a sensation in Beihai City. Later, under the recommendation of the Beihai City Wushu Association, he participated in the talent training camp of Dongning Province and entered the top 20 training camps. In the same year, he entered Dongning Wuhan University with the first place in the city, 32nd in the province, and 145th in the country. 3 years later, he graduated from Dongning Wuhan University and served in the military. 5 years later, he retired as a lieutenant and founded the Holy Martial Art Museum in Beihai City. Promoted to a 6th-level martial artist at the age of 45, and failed to become a 7th-level grandmaster at the age of 55. In July 383, Budo died at the age of 87 due to a strange beast attack in Beihai City. Married with 2 daughters and 1 son. This time, Liu Sheng's life history has become much richer, so Liu Sheng read it carefully. At the end, he found that the historical evaluation of the characters under him had also become higher, becoming 2.5 stars, which was increased by half a star. Of course, the authority is still only level 2. Sure enough, the future can be changed, or at least my own future can be changed. A week ago, I was a 4th-level warrior at the age of 37. A week later, I successfully lived to be more than 80 years old, and the upper limit of my strength has reached level 6. If it hadn't been for an accident, I might have lived longer. The difference between the two lies in my strength improvement within this week. The strength is different, the results obtained in the college entrance examination are different, the universities entered are different, and the final destiny is completely different. Before I graduated from Beihai Wuda, I chose to join the military region. Now I chose to open my own martial arts gym after graduating from Dongning Wuda. In the end, I even hoped to become a 7th-level master. The current effort is too important, the choice determines the fate. This sentence is not just casually. In addition, Liu Sheng also found one point. This biography didn't mention any information related to stellar body refining technique, natural breathing method and crystal conception thought. It seems that the exercises I got in the dream space, as long as I don't choose to expose them, will not be exposed. Will it have any impact on subsequent lives? Turning off the optical brain, Liu Sheng's eyes became extremely firm. Through verification, my idea is correct, destiny can indeed be changed. But if I want to truly change the fate of the human race and leverage the development trajectory of the entire world in the next 10,000 years, my current strength is far from enough. A 6th level quasi-grandmaster is insignificant, a 7th level grandmaster, an 8th level grandmaster, and even a 9th level martial saint are very difficult to achieve. Perhaps when I reach the height of a 10th level or even 11th level powerhouse in this era, I will have the slightest chance of turning the tide. Even in the next 10,000 years, 11th level martial arts experts will be rare, let alone in the current 300 years of martial arts. The road that Sheng wants to take is too difficult. However, he will keep going and do his best. Beihai City, Martial Artists Association. President's Office. 59-year-old Xiao Yuhi has black hair and a ruddy complexion. There are almost no wrinkles on his face, and he can't tell that he is an old man who is about to enter his 60th year. But for a 6th level peak martial artist who is about to enter the realm of a master in martial arts, this is not surprising. Xiao Yuhi is writing a character for God, using a brush and concentrating on it. Xiao Yuhi once visited an old master, and the other party said that his accumulation in other aspects is enough, only spiritual cultivation is a little short. As long as 100,000 God characters are written, it is possible to truly step into the realm of a master. So far, Xiao Yuhi has written 46,721, and this is the 46,722. President. The door was opened suddenly, and a person rushed in quickly. Xiao Yuhi's hands trembled, and a little ink fell on the paper, ruining half of the writing. Xiao Yuhi glanced at the word with some pity, put down the pen casually, picked up the towel at hand to wipe his hands, and said, "What's the matter? You're in such a panic that you don't even know how to knock on the door." The person who came was Xiao Yuhi's secretary, in his 30s, wearing a pair of glasses, gentle. "I'm sorry, President, I'll pay attention next time." The secretary apologized sheepishly, and then his expression became serious. "I have something important to report." "Explain." The secretary picked up the document in his hand and briefly reported the matter. Xiao Yuhi's expression was calm at first, but gradually his expression began to change, when he heard the last word. The teacup he just picked up shook violently, and the hot tea spilled all over the table. "Bring me the information, hurry up." Xiao Yuhi didn't care about cleaning the table, so he hurriedly urged. The secretary hastily handed over the document in his hand. Xiao Yuhi took the document and read it carefully. Soon, his eyes began to gradually widen, and the muscles at the corners of his eyes and mouth twitched slightly. In the end, a huge surprise bloomed from his face. "Good! Good!" Xiao Yuhi stood up abruptly, and blurted out with an excited expression, "I didn't expect that Beihai City could produce such a genius." After a short period of excitement, Xiao Yuhi's emotions gradually calmed down. He lowered his head and thought for a while, then calmly said, "Bring me the student's assessment video, and I'll watch it again." "Yes." 036 Perfect Realm Boxing, Talented Warrior. 3. Soon, a latest laptop computer was placed on Xiao Yuhi's desk, and the assessment video began to play on the screen. At a glance, Xiao Yuhi found the boy named Sheng shown in the information. Sheng in the picture is tall and straight, with a handsome appearance, and his gestures give people a sense of calmness and confidence. Xiao Yuhi's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but praise, "The young man is calm and has the air of a general." The secretary next to him hurriedly nodded in agreement. Then, Sheng in the screen began to test his blood. Rao Xiao Yuhi already knew the result from the data, but when he really saw the value of 15.701 appearing in front of his eyes, he couldn't help but tremble slightly. Mainly, it is too young. According to the data, this boy named Sheng is only 17 years old and more than a month old this year, and he has just entered the 3rd year of high school. At this age, you have this blood value. The impact it brings is too great. You know, for ordinary high school students of his age, most of the vitality values stay at around 1. It's good to be able to get to 1. The 198th High School Vital Blood Survey in Beihai City, the average blood value was only 0.783. Lu Sheng was 20 times higher than the average. The best high school in Beihai City, Beihai No. 1 Middle School, the most outstanding genius in history, how much blood is worth? Nothing over 2.0. President, do you think this Lu Sheng took a lot of tonic? The secretary chimed in. Xiao Yuhi shook his head, impossible, you have seen Lu Sheng's family conditions, his parents are ordinary people, they can't afford many tonics at all. The secretary thought for a while and said, others funded. Xiao Yuhi glanced at the secretary. Do you know how many tonics he needs to take when his blood value reaches 15.7 at his age? Xiao Yuhi stretched out a finger, and said calmly, it's enough to wipe out a family with over 100 million assets. It's not necessarily enough. Moreover, even if ordinary people let him eat, it is impossible to reach his height. Genius, you can't just throw money at it. The most crucial point, Xiao Yuhi didn't say anything. As a 6th-level peak martial artist, he knew very well how vain the blood of a warrior who rose by taking tonics was, it was an empty frame that could be seen at a glance. There is no sense of solidity like Lu Sheng. Furthermore, Lu Sheng's subsequent combat effectiveness index test results are also the best evidence. Boom! There was a muffled sound in the picture, it was the sound of Lu Sheng punching. More than 15,700. The secretary almost groaned and sighed, if I am not responsible for the maintenance of the association's instruments every week, I must suspect that this is a malfunction of the instrument. Xiao Yuhi didn't speak, his eyes were fixed on the computer screen, and his fingers kept pressing the slow motion button of the video. After a while, Xiao Yuhi leaned back slowly, making an obvious inhalation movement. The boxing method of the perfect realm. He said every word. Perfect boxing technique. The secretary froze for a moment, with a confused expression on his face. Xiao Yuhi waved his hands and said, this is a term in our martial arts world. You are not a warrior, you don't understand, you only need a little. Xiao Yuhi said with a complicated face, as far as I know, there are no more than 10 people at his age who have practiced boxing to perfection. The secretary was shocked. There is a feeling of ignorance. 17 years old, perfect boxing skills, tisk tisk tisk. Xiao Yuhi was emotional for a while. However, even with the perfect boxing method, it is difficult to achieve more than 15,000 fighting power on the basis of the blood value of 15.7. The perfect boxing method can only double the combat power at most. Xiao Yuhi frowned fiercely. He rewound the video again and watched it again. Watch it, then go back and forth. During this process, Xiao Yuhi's eyes gradually burst into light. HE and blood value of 15.7, a combat power of 10 times the standard blood value, an ordinary family. Finally, after seeing it for the 5th time, Xiao Yuhi suddenly stood up from his seat, startling the secretary next to him. It must be like this, it must be. Otherwise, it cannot be explained at all. Xiao Yuhi clenched his fists with uncontrollable excitement, his excitement and joy far surpassed any time before. The secretary quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He has been Xiao Yuhi's secretary for several years, and he has never seen Xiao Yuhi behave like this. Just like. It's like winning the lottery. President. The secretary called cautiously. As a result, Xiao Yuhi laughed happily. Haha, Xiao Su. Our Beihai Martial Arts Association has really found a treasure this time. Talented warriors, how many warriors can there be a talented warrior? There can be one in our Beihai city. And still so young, with such outstanding talent in boxing. Ha ha ha. According to the data, this student named Lu Sheng, when he was in the 2nd year of high school, his grades in all aspects were still very mediocre, even low. But just after entering the third year of high school, within a short period of 1 or 2 months, his energy and blood have skyrocketed, and his abilities in all aspects have skyrocketed, reaching the level of a second-level warrior, which is almost the height of a third-level warrior. In such a situation, Xiao Yuhi could only think of a special group of warriors. Talented Warrior 037 Vibration 4. Martial arts practice is a process of constantly tapping the potential of the human body. In this process, some people may awaken some powerful abilities beyond ordinary people's imagination. These people are called talented warriors. It's only possible that some talented fighters will experience a sharp increase in blood value at the early stage of awakening their talent, which coincides with the changes that happened to Liu Sheng. As for his outrageous combat power that far exceeds that of a normal warrior, it should be the innate ability he awakened, perhaps something like strength. At this time, Xiao Yuhi's thoughts were clear, and all doubts about Liu Sheng were dispelled in his mind, leaving only happiness and joy. As a 6th-level powerhouse, he naturally knows how valuable a talented warrior is. If it is said, there may be one official warrior out of 1,000 ordinary people. Then, out of 1,000 warriors, there may not be a single talented warrior. One can imagine how precious it is. Not to mention a talented martial artist like Liu Sheng. Xiao Yuhi has been the president of the Beihe City Martial Artists Association for almost 8 years. Originally, he felt that this was the end of his life, and he would honestly be the chairman of the association for a few more years, and finally retire in this position. But Xiao Yuhi now sees the hope of promotion. If I can cultivate the seedling Liu Sheng well, and when he grows to a certain height, the rewards he brings to me may allow me to climb up again. Xiao Yuhi is not an official fan, nor is he obsessed with power. What he really cares about is what comes behind the power. Resource. If he can go up to another level, the resources he can get are not comparable to that of a mere head of the Beihe City Martial Arts Association. And with the help of these resources, it is entirely possible for Xiao Yuhi to set foot in the place he dreamed of. Level 7, Grandmaster. If I have enough resources, I still need to hide in the office and write every day? Fuck the 100,000 divine characters. Xiao Yuhi has long been tired of writing crookedly. Now he feels like vomiting when he sees the word God. Thinking of this, Xiao Yuhi could hardly hold back the excitement and joy in his heart, and quickly arranged for the secretary. Quick, hurry up and arrange a car for me. I want to go to Liu Sheng's house in person. Pay a good visit to his parents and thank them for giving birth to such a good son. Yes, President. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Ni Shuang stood at the entrance of the martial arts hall, pacing back and forth, looking a little irritable. A muscular young man wearing a Hongchuan martial arts uniform ran in panting. Senior Sister Ni. How about it? Ni Shuang's eyes lit up all of a sudden, and with a bit of anticipation and urgency, she asked, any news? The young man wiped the sweat from his forehead, nodded and said, yes. His name is Liu Sheng, a student of Beihe No. 3 Middle School, and he is in the 3rd year of high school this year. His father works as a porter in Shenhang Logistics, his mother works as a cashier in Jiajia Food Supermarket, and there is a younger sister in the family. The whole family lives in Building 15, Bilan District. Good. Ni Shuang clenched her fist hard, with a look of joy on her face. Seeing this, the young man next to him was a little puzzled, and couldn't help asking curiously, Senior Sister Ni, why are you looking for this Liu Sheng? Did he offend you? Let me tell you, Senior Sister, she is only a child, there is no need to force people to death like this. Shut up! Ni Shuang couldn't listen anymore, and interrupted the young man angrily. What is it all about? Is she, Ni Shuang, the kind of person who calls a group of people to trouble other people's families for a little personal grudge? Really speechless. The young man shut up obediently, not daring to say more. After all, Ni Shuang is the daughter of the gym owner, and she is very powerful. Almost no one can beat her in the martial arts gym. She is an out-and-out master sister. At this time, Ni Shuang answered a call. No. Ni Shuang hung up the phone, complexities written all over her handsome face. This call was from her friend in the Martial Arts Association. I knew it would be soon, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. Ni Shuang took a deep breath, her eyes returned to the calmness of the past, and strode out the door. Take me to Lu Sheng's house. By the way, let the brothers and sisters go and buy some gifts, suitable for parents, elders, and little girls aged 16 or 17. It's more expensive. Mr. Zhong, tomorrow I have to meet the student named Lu Sheng that you mentioned in your mouth. The school committee will never agree to grant the scholarship without seeing his achievements with his own eyes. And. The vice principal sitting behind the desk pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose and said coldly, as far as I know, this student named Lu Sheng hasn't come to school for almost 2 weeks. Have you contacted his parents? Zhong Zhenqiu frowned and said, Vice Principal, you still don't believe what I said. Only relying on the grade report form you handed in? Sorry, it's really not enough. The Vice Principal shook his head. A trace of anger flashed in Zhong Zhenqiu's eyes, but he was more helpless. He always thought that he still had a little say in the school, but now he realized that he was only a second-level martial artist, and he was nothing in the eyes of the school committee. Just an ordinary practical teacher. There are many people who are qualified for this position. After a moment of silence, Zhong Zhenqiu compromised. Well, I guarantee that within this week, Lu Sheng will definitely go back to school. But at his own request, can he not notify the parents? No. The vice principal refused indifferently. Not coming to school for more than a week is already a serious violation of discipline. I didn't choose to expel him immediately, it was already to save face for you. And Teacher Zhong, I have to remind you that your handling of this matter is very wrong. You are covering bad students, do you know? Zhong Zhenqiu wanted to say something, but the vice principal had already waved his hand, expressing that he didn't want to talk to him anymore. Zhong Zhenqiu stood up. Then, Vice Principal, I'll go back first. The Vice Principal hummed indifferently, looked down at the document, and didn't intend to send it to him at all. Zhong Zhenqiu sighed lightly and was about to leave. At this moment, a person rushed in from the door in a hurry. Good news, great news! Haha! 038 Home, Visit, 5. An old man with grey hair came in. Seeing the old man come in, the vice principal sitting behind the desk immediately stood up. Principal Ding, why are you here? Zhong Zhenqiu also hastily said hello, Principal Ding. The old man's surname is Ding, and he is the principal of Beihe No. 3 Middle School. Not only that, he also holds positions in the Beihe City Education Bureau and the Wushu Association, and he is a powerful 5th-level martial artist. Even in the entire Beihe City, there are prominent figures. At this time, Principal Ding was full of spring breeze, and his old face full of wrinkles almost turned into a flower with a smile. Principal, what are you so happy about? Principal Ding's face was full of joy, and haha explained, I just received a call from President Xiao, saying that our school has a martial arts genius named Lu Sheng. Tisk tisk tisk, 17 years old, with a blood value of 15.7, and the combat power index is even more exaggerated to more than 15,700, reaching the standard of a 3rd-level warrior. If President Xiao hadn't told me personally, I would have thought it was a joke. It is said that he is still a talented warrior. Principal Ding was talking to himself, without noticing that the expressions on the faces of Zhong Zhenqiu and the vice principal became exaggerated bit by bit. School, Principal, you just said that the martial arts genius is, what's his name? Zhong Zhenqiu stammered and spoke. Lu Sheng. Principal Ding said a name, then patted Zhong Zhenqiu on the shoulder with a smile, and praised, speaking of which, teacher Zhong also has a lot of credit. If I remember correctly, the actual combat lessons in Lu Sheng's class have always been it's all you are carrying. Lu Sheng. Blood value 15.7. More than 15,700 combat power, 3 levels. Talented warrior. Zhong Zhenqiu felt dizzy for a moment, as if he had stepped on cotton under his feet, and he could hardly stand still. It seemed to be drunk, and it seemed to be living in a dream. As for the vice principal next to him, his eyes widened, and his mouth was wide enough to fit a teacup into it. I was so shocked that I couldn't utter a word. Lu Sheng was awakened by a sudden knock on the door, and had to exit from the dream clock ahead of schedule. Brother, come out quickly, someone is looking for you. The younger sister Lu Qinghe shouted at the door, her tone seemed a little anxious. Got it, now. Lu Sheng responded with a thoughtful expression on his face. Lu Qinghe's behavior today is very strange. Slamming on the door was too gentle, and she didn't call herself Big Brother before, but called her daimyo directly. Reminiscent of her saying that someone was looking for her. Lu Sheng probably understood what was going on. Lu Sheng tidied up a bit and walked out of the room. Lu Sheng's house is small. The bathroom is facing the living room, with Lu Sheng's and Lu Qinghe's rooms on both sides. So Lu Sheng saw it as soon as he walked out of the room. Lu Dahai, Zheng Yufen, and Lu Qinghe are all in the living room, and there are 2 strangers, a man and a woman, sitting beside them. Next to the sofa, there was a pile of expensive gifts just by looking at the packaging. Little saint, come quickly. Seeing Lu Sheng walk out of the room, Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen, who were confused, immediately called him over. The others also turned to look at him. Lu Sheng saw Lu Qinghe with a complicated face, and the other 2 had a smile on their faces, and a little flattery in their excitement. Mom and Dad. Lu Sheng walked over calmly, and Lu Qinghe quickly made room for him to sit down. These 2 are. Lu Sheng looked at a man and a woman sitting on the sofa. Zheng Yufen quickly introduced. This is President Xiao Yuhi of the Beihe Martial Artists Association, this is. Zheng Yufen was thinking. Ni Shuang hastily added, Hongchuan Martial Arts School. Yep. Zheng Yufen remembered, Miss Ni from Hongchuan Martial Arts School. Student Lu Sheng can be regarded as a frequent visitor of our Hongchuan Martial Arts School. He should be no stranger to our martial arts school. Speaking of which, we have met once, classmate Lu Sheng. Ni Shuang smiled, showing everyone's demeanor. Lu Sheng nodded and said, Hello, President Xiao, and Miss Ni. I am Lu Sheng. Seeing Lu Sheng's calm face, Ni Shuang couldn't help but secretly sighed in her heart, she deserves to be the top talent in Beihe City, and she really is different. The people outside knew that his test results in the Martial Arts Association in the morning were going crazy, but he, the client, seemed as if nothing had happened. Just now, I was still sleeping in the room, which is really heartbreaking. Xiao Yuhi was also full of appreciation in his heart. He has seen a lot of geniuses, but none of them are like Lu Sheng, who is calm and unflappable. This character alone is much better than ordinary people don't know. It's simply, a natural martial arts seedling. The 2 of you came to see me. Ni Shuang closed her mouth tactfully, and handed over the right to speak to Xiao Yuhi. Although the Hongchuan Martial Arts School has a certain reputation in Beihe City, it is far behind Xiao Yuhi, the head of the Martial Arts Association. This is a big man whom even her father Ni Hongchuan looks up to and fawns on. Stamping casually, Beihe City will tremble 3 times. And such a boss can now come to Lu Sheng's house in person and live in a small house of less than 90 square meters. It shows how much Xiao Yuhi attaches great importance to Lu Sheng. Xiao Yuhi smiled and said, I'm here this time, mainly to represent the Beihe City Warrior Association, and to present you, Lu Sheng, with an official warrior badge. Lu Sheng's eyes lighted up slightly. He went to the Martial Arts Association to take part in the assessment today for this purpose. On the other hand, Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen, who were on the side, were stunned when they heard this sentence. Official warrior badge? To Lu Sheng? What the hell? Please ask for a flower evaluation ticket or something, the result is too bad TT. 039 1 million bonus, talent training camp, 6, plus more. Not long after Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen came back, they came to the door one after another. One claimed to be the president of the Martial Arts Association, and the other said it was from some kind of martial arts school. If it was normal, Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen must have kicked them out as liars long ago. But whether it is Xiao Yuhi or Ni Shuang, their image and temperament are not like ordinary people. Especially Xiao Yuhi, with the strength of a 6th-level peak warrior and the magnanimity cultivated by a long-term residence, the powerful aura exuded by his gestures, as ordinary people, they have only seen this kind of character on TV. In addition, Ni Shuang huffed and moved in a bunch of gifts. That's why I invited them in muddle-headedly, sat down, and chatted for a while. In fact, Lu Haihei and Zheng Yufen didn't know what they were doing to find Lu Sheng at all, and they even worried that Lu Sheng might have caused trouble outside. Now, Xiao Yuhi actually said that he came to award Lu Sheng an official warrior badge? Lu Dahai looked confused, and said cautiously, Xiao, President Xiao, right? Are you making a mistake? Our Lu Sheng is still a high school student. Xiao Yuhi laughed, and said, it's because I'm a high school student, so outstanding, that I decided to come to commend him in person. With that said, Xiao Yuhi took out a beautiful brass badge from his pocket and put it in front of Lu Sheng. Little Lu Sheng, on behalf of the Beihai City Martial Artists Association, I am now formally notifying you that you have successfully passed the assessment of a 2nd-level official martial artist. From now on, you will be a 2nd-level official martial artist certified by the Warrior Association. Xiao Yuhi said kindly, because of your excellent performance in the Combat Power Index test, it has far exceeded the category of a 2nd-level warrior, so we decided that your monthly martial arts allowance will still be based on the standard of a 3rd-level warrior. Issue. Not only that, because of your outstanding talent in martial arts, our Beihai City Martial Artists Association will also give you a bonus of 1 million yuan. I hope you can make persistent efforts in martial arts in the future and create greater glories. Boom. After a series of news from Xiao Yuhi came out, Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen who were sitting on the sofa were immediately stunned. The eyes are straight, the mouth is wide open, and the brain is buzzing. If he wasn't sitting on the sofa, he would probably have collapsed to the ground. Lu Sheng. Level 2 warrior? Enjoy the treatment of a 3rd-level warrior? A million martial arts bonus? Lu Dahai and Zheng Yufen wondered if they were dreaming. 1 million. Pinch me, am I still awake? Lu Qinghe next to her was also shocked, but she behaved slightly better than the couple. Lu Sheng was very calm. Except for the 1 million bonus, everything else was within his expectations. Thank you, President Xiao. Lu Sheng rudely collected the badges and bonus checks on the table. There's not much to say about the check, mostly the badge. Lu Sheng knew about it online before. The badges of warriors from level 1 to level 3 are yellow, the badges of warriors from level 4 to level 6 are silver, the badges of level 7 masters are gold, and the badges of level 8 masters are diamonds. Further up, Lu Sheng is not clear. There are only a few 9th-level martial saints in the world, so it doesn't matter if you need a badge or not. The one in his hand is surrounded by a circle of patterns, and the number 2 marked in the middle is the badge representing the 2nd-level official warrior. It looks like it is made of brass, but it is actually doped with a lot of rare and precious metals, and its value is higher than gold. Oh, by the way, there is one more thing I want to inform you. Xiao Yuhi said, in 2 days, there will be a training camp for college entrance examination candidates in the province, and the association is going to recommend you to go. President Xiao is talking about the talent training camp held by the provincial association. At this time, Ni Shuang, who was sitting next to her, suddenly interjected cautiously. Xiao Yuhi turned his head and glanced at her. You also know about this training camp? Ni Shuang nodded and said, I've heard that. It is said that only the most talented martial arts geniuses in Dongning province are eligible to participate, and less than 10 people can go in each city. Right. Xiao Yuhi nodded, turned around and looked at Liu Sheng with a gentle face. Why, are you interested? Ni Shuang saw this scene in her eyes, and her heart was full of displeasure. She has not only heard of it, she also signed up back then. As a result, Ni Hongchuan used a lot of contacts, both as gifts and through connections, but he still didn't go in. One can imagine how difficult it is to be selected by this training camp. How many people squeeze their heads and want to squeeze in? Right now Liu Sheng is doing well. The head of the Martial Arts Association invited him personally, and asked him if he was interested. It's like begging him to go. Can? Liu Sheng nodded. Judging from the content of the chat between Ni Shuang and Xiao Yuhi, this genius training camp should have only advantages and no disadvantages. If so, why not go there? Good. Xiao Yuhi looked quite happy, and then stood up from the sofa. Since the things have been delivered, I won't bother. Before leaving, Xiao Yuhi shook hands with Liu Dahai and Zheng Yufen, and sighed solemnly, Thank you for raising such an outstanding son. Liu Dahai and Zheng Yufen kept sending Xiao Yuhi out, their minds still in a daze. Is it true or not? A second-level martial artist, a 1 million bonus. Is it really a mistake? Could it be the one with the same name as our family Liu Sheng? Liu Haihei looked over Liu Sheng's warrior badge and checked over and over again. Ni Shuang couldn't help but smiled and said, Uncle Aunt, there is no doubt that it is your son Liu Sheng. Liu Sheng went to the Martial Arts Association this morning to take the martial artist assessment, and his grades were excellent. Don't you think even Chairman Xiao was alarmed? I guess it will be on the news tomorrow. Still on the news? Liu Haihei froze for a moment. Over there, Zheng Yufen, who was holding a mobile phone, exclaimed in surprise, It's really Xiao Yuhi, the president of our Beihe Warrior Association. It's written all over the internet, and there are photos. Thank you for the flower monthly ticket and the reward, and add a new chapter, thank you. 040 Honorary Disciple, Liu Qinghe and number 039, S. Shock, 1. Now, it's time to tell you why you came. Liu Sheng set his eyes on Ni Shuang and said calmly. Ni Shuang was taken aback. At this moment, she felt that Liu Sheng's temperament had completely changed. It was restrained before, but now it is a little more relaxed. Like a silent lion showing its fangs inadvertently. For a moment, Ni Shuang even had the illusion of facing her father Ni Hongchuan in the aura that emanated. There was a slight sense of tension and oppression in her heart. You know, she is a serious third-level warrior. I'm here this time. After all, Ni Shuang is usually in charge of the first gym, so she quickly calmed down and said, I want to invite you, Liu Sheng, to be our honorary disciple of Hongchuan martial arts. Honorary disciple? Liu Sheng frowned, what is it? It's a disciple. You don't have to come here. Of course, you can come anytime you want. All courses and equipment are free, and you can even let my father teach in person. You can also enjoy the highest level instructor treatment. In fact, it's just a name, and you don't have to bear any obligations. Ni Shuang quickly explained. She just came up with the name of this honorary disciple. Generally speaking, there are only honorary teachers and honorary coaches, and there have never been any honorary disciples. However, Liu Sheng is too young to hire him as a coach. The martial arts school mainly values his terrifying talent, so Ni Shuang came up with this name. A 17-year-old second-level martial artist has even reached the height of a third-level warrior. With such a signboard put out, the Hongchuan Martial Arts School will explode completely in Beihai City? How many parents will rush to send their children in? It's much better than finding a coach of level 4 or even level 5 warriors to sit in charge. Ni Shuang thought so. No. Liu Sheng firmly refused. The treatment can be negotiated. Ni Shuang hastily backed down. But Liu Sheng changed the subject, and continued, honorary members are fine, you can publicize that I usually exercise in your martial arts gym, this is indeed true. There are too many meanings involved in the word disciple. Ni Hongchuan Liu Sheng, the curator of the Hongchuan Martial Arts School, had never met before, so how could he admit that he was the other party's disciple, even in name only? He didn't want anyone to use his name to go out and bluff. Although he has a good impression of Hongchuan Wuguan. But it's just a good impression. If you can accept it, that's it, if you can't, then I'm sorry. Liu Sheng said lightly, of course, I may still go to your martial arts gym for testing in the future. After all, it is closer to home. Ni Shuang's eyes struggled for a while, and finally softened. Okay, then honorary membership, the conditions remain the same. I just hope that this honorary title is bought out by our Hongchuan Martial Art Museum. Can? Liu Sheng nodded. This means that in the future, Hongchuan Martial Arts will pay Liu Sheng a sum of money every month, which is equivalent to the salary of the highest-ranking coach in the martial arts school, which is about 100,000. And Liu Sheng only needs to admit to the outside world that he often goes in and out of the Hongchuan Martial Arts Hall. Liu Sheng thinks the business is doing okay. Then I won't disturb everyone. Ni Shuang stood up and said goodbye. Although the final result is a bit different from what I expected, it is not unacceptable. Ni Shuang is very clear. After Liu Sheng's test results spread in Beihai City, it will cost more than the current price if he wants to get this title. Speaking of which, their Hongchuan Martial Arts School is considered lucky. The location of the martial arts gym just happens to be near the Liu Shenjia community, and the near water and the tower first get the moon. After sending Ni Shuang away, the house was finally clean. Liu Sheng glanced at his parents who were still fiddling with badges and checks, and said hello to them, then I'll go back to my room first, just call me for dinner. Turn around and leave after speaking. The martial artist badge and 1 million check that Xiao Yuhi personally delivered just now seemed to him to have no existence at all. Liu Qinghe was in deep shock. This state started when she was in the Martial Artists Association in the morning. When Yang Yuan said that name, Liu Qinghe wondered if she heard it wrong. In other words, the two are not the same person at all. It was the first time Liu Qinghe saw senior sister Yang Yuan like that. In her heart, senior sister Yang Yuan should be beautiful, aloof, always proud, and always a shining genius, an idol she has always admired. But at that moment, Yang Yuan's face showed deep depression, powerlessness, helplessness, and lack of self-confidence. It was the first time for her to look at senior sister Yang Yuan and still need to look up at someone. And that person turned out to be her big brother. How is this possible? Even if Liu Sheng has indeed changed a lot during this time. Her image, temperament, appetite, grades, and other aspects became almost unrecognizable to her. But no matter how it changes, it is impossible to reach such a height all of a sudden and become someone that senior sister Yang Yuan needs to look up to. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. It is definitely the same name and surname, a mistake. Liu Qinghe kept telling himself this. As a result, after returning home, even more outrageous things happened. Xiao Yuhi, the president of the Beihai City Martial Artists Association, actually came to visit him in person because of Liu Sheng. Liu Qinghe knew Xiao Yuhi. Once Beihai No. 1 Middle School held a school-wide event, and the school specially invited this important figure. At that time, Xiao Yuhi was sitting in the middle of the summit platform, and the principals and directors on both sides were laughing with him, their faces full of brilliance, as if it was an extremely honorable thing to invite Xiao Yuhe. Lu King he was completely dumbfounded. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Then this big man, who can only be seen on TV, began to praise and encourage Lu Sheng in various ways with a pleasant face, and even personally awarded him a warrior badge and bonus. Lu King he is all too familiar with this situation. From childhood to adulthood, every time after the test results came out, the head teacher called her to go on stage to accept the praise, and this expression was on her face. Thank you for your flower monthly tickets and comments. At present, there are 20,000 words in the manuscript, and the excitement is still in the follow-up. I will continue to ask for your support. Thank you. 041 that and number 039, s him. 2. But that's the teacher in the school. Who is Xiao Yuhe? The head of the Beihai City Martial Arts Association, one of the most influential people in Beihai City. Between the two, there is no comparison at all. Watching my parents turn it over and over in their hands, there is only a bronze badge that I can bite into. Lu King he thought. Once, a classmate in the class secretly took her father's badge to school to show off to them, and she saw it once. But that is only a first-level martial artist badge. It's the first time Lu King he sees the second class. And bonuses. A whole million in bonuses. For the first time, Lu King he knew that there were so many scholarships to such an outrageous level. There were too many shocks. Lu King he was almost dumbfounded by the shock. She sat on the sofa for a long time. He waited until his mood eased a little before standing up. Mom and Dad, I'm going back to my room. Lu King he said. No one left her. Lu Dahai and Zhang Yufen were still staring at the two things in their hands and chatting endlessly. Inexplicably, a trace of sadness appeared in Lu King he's heart. This seems to be the first time she has been ignored by her parents since she was a child, or because of big brother Lu Sheng. So cool. Is there any result yet? He Lingsu walked up and down the store impatiently. Ma Fei replied cautiously, occasionally I can get in touch, but each time I hang up without saying a few words. It's really useless. Didn't you pat your chest and tell me that there is absolutely no problem? Fortunately, I still believe you. He Lingsu stomped his feet, pointed at Ma Fei's nose and cursed. Ma Fei looked aggrieved, but he didn't dare to refute a word. Who told him to promise things so full before, but now it's good, and his face is completely lost. He Lingsu was irritated. It's been a week. For more than a week, she has not been able to meet the mysterious pharmacist. He didn't even know what the other person looked like or what his name was. If you can't see people, you can't get new medicines. Without new drugs, the He family could not get out of the predicament. That's why He Lingsu was so anxious to get angry. After a week, she hardly slept well, and even her skin became darker. All her time and energy were devoted to this new drug, and she didn't go when she got several news about other new drugs. I'm afraid that if people walk away, they will miss this side. Logically speaking, there is no need for this at all, and more fish can be caught by casting more nets. But this time the situation cannot be dealt with by common sense. For more than a week, He Lingsu continued to analyze the pharmacology and ingredients of the mysterious liquid. The deeper the results, the more amazing things get. This kind of tonic, which I don't know what it is more effective in strengthening blood than all other tonics on the market. It meets the standards of the Pharmacists Association's first-level and second-level tonics, and even surpasses some third-level tonics. Not only that, there are as many as a dozen kinds of various additional effects. There are almost no side effects, and the resistance cycle is frighteningly long. And under the condition of having such excellent medicinal properties, the estimated cost of this kind of tonic. It turned out to be only twice as much as Yangtze powder. God, Yangtze powder is not considered a serious tonic, okay? There is no name of Yangsu powder in the official first-level tonic list. Today's Yangsu powder can only be regarded as a health medicine at best, and only families with little money will buy this kind of thing as a tonic for martial arts practice. The most critical point is, He Lingsa searched the database of the Pharmacists Association, but could not find any information related to it. Nothing like that. What does that mean? This means that, 9 out of 10, it is a new type of tonic that has just been developed. A great new drug with epoch-making significance. This is also the reason why He Lingsu is so stubborn, clinging to it, putting all his eggs in one basket. What kind of basket is this? This is clearly a golden mountain that can bring the He family back to life. Only. Now this golden mountain is invisible, and she has not yet found the way to the foot of the golden mountain. He Lingsa sighed softly, and rubbed his temples wearily. Miss He. At this time, Ma Fei's call came from his ear. What? He Lingsa replied angrily. This guy Ma Fei is not good at fart, but his bragging ability is top-notch. Now she hates Ma Fei when she sees him. I found the master. What? He Lingsa froze for a moment, and jumped up suddenly. Where is it? Where is the master? Ma Fei had an extremely strange expression on his face, his eyes were fixed on one direction, and he pointed. It's right there. He Lingsa turned his head immediately, but what he saw was the TV set in the lobby of the pharmacy. At this time, a news message is playing on the TV. Yesterday, an extremely outstanding martial arts genius appeared in our city. At the age of 17, he passed the assessment of a second-level official warrior, and his combat power index even reached the standard of a third-level warrior. This achievement has far broken the peer record of our city's martial arts association. Even Mr. Xiao Yuhi, the president of the Martial Arts Association, expressed his high appreciation and encouragement to this young martial arts genius. And this martial arts genius is Lu Sheng, who is currently studying in Class 3 and 5 of Beihe No. 3 Middle School. It is understood that student Lu Sheng. He Lingsa was staring at the TV screen in a daze, when he heard Ma Fei's faint voice in his ear. Miss He, I borrowed the pharmacy dispensing room of our Xing Shantang before, and the person we have been wanting to contact during this time, is this Lu Sheng. What? He Lingsa's eyes widened suddenly. Lu Sheng, martial arts genius pharmaceutical master. He Lingsa looked at the young and immature face with handsome features announced in the news, and his mind buzzed, as if 100 planes were flying over her head at the same time. 042 What and number 039, S wrong with this world, 3. Lu Sheng was sitting at his desk, browsing the internet. After obtaining the official second-level martial artist certification from the Wushu Association, Lu Sheng found that he could log into a website called Warriors Home with this. This site details the various powers that official warriors possess. It's not just a monthly allowance that ordinary people envy. And there are many perks. For example, warriors and their families do not need to queue up to see a doctor, there are special discounts for buying a house or a car, and children get extra points for school and college entrance examinations, etc. There are also obligations that warriors should fulfill. There is only one thing, that is, when the country needs it, the official warriors of the Wumeng League must unconditionally respond to the call and go to the front line of the battle. In addition, this warrior's home also provides many services. Similar to buying tonics, weapons, exercises that can only be used by various warriors. There are even online lectures, teaching martial arts, which need to be paid to watch. Warriors of different levels have different permissions. The higher the authority, the higher the value of the things and content that can be accessed. Lu Sheng closed the website and said to himself, this is similar to the rules of Tinder Resource Bank. He has the crystallization of the wisdom of the entire human martial arts civilization for more than 10,000 years. This so-called family of warriors is really useless to him. Unless it is necessary to buy products on it, you generally need to check the information and ask questions. If Curry can't find the answer, it will be even more impossible for this family of warriors. Liu Sheng stood up from the computer and dragged out a small wooden box 1 foot square from under the bed. This box originally contained some memories of Liu Sheng. Toys I played with when I was young, love letters from female classmates, old photos from the past, etc. It is now used by Liu Sheng to charge medicine. Opening the box, there were 12 glass test tubes neatly arranged inside, 11 of which were empty. Liu Sheng took out the last potion. The light green liquid medicine looks like flowing emerald under the light. Liu Sheng pulled out the cork and drank the medicine in the bottle. The last bottle. Liu Sheng felt the scalding heat gradually surging in his body, and began to perform the star body refining technique posture silently. We have to prepare another batch of tonic. Xiao Yuhi gave him a bonus of 1 million, a monthly allowance for warriors, and a naming fee remitted from Hongchuan Martial Art Museum. For the time being, he no longer needs to worry about the money to buy supplements. Even equipment that specializes in the preparation of medicines can be afforded. Why do you suddenly want to go to Shuhei City? Shuhei City is not as big as Arbeihi City. I have to go there to buy something. While packing up Liu Sheng's things, Zheng Yufen babbled. Liu Dahai sat on the sofa and looked at his proudest cub with a smile on his face, and said, "Oh, the child has his own plan when he grows up, so why do you care so much about him? Let him go." Zheng Yufen nodded, and said, "It's good to go out for a few days, to avoid the limelight." In the past few days, Liu Sheng's family has become the star family of the entire community. I don't know how many people come to visit and drop by every day. Walking on the road will also be held back by people, praise, ask for advice. At first, Liu Haihei and Zheng Yufen enjoyed it quite a bit, but later it was too much trouble. Now Zheng Yufen doesn't even dare to go out to buy groceries. Liu Qinghe is similar. As soon as she entered the school, she was surrounded by crowds. Everyone in the school knew that her brother was the famous martial arts genius Liu Sheng. Now Liu Qinghe receives every day, asking her to help get Liu Sheng to sign, ask Liu Sheng to have dinner, and letters to Liu Sheng with love letters can fill up a whole drawer, and the new messages on the mobile phone are always 9.99 plus. Even, yesterday, senior sister Yang Yuan began to ask her about her brother Liu Sheng consciously or unconsciously. What the hell is going on in this world? Sitting at the dining table, Liu Qinghe took a bite of the bread in his hand, with sadness in his expression. In just a few days, her big brother, who only knew how to skip classes and sleep, became a martial arts genius and a city star. And her genius younger sister, who has been hailed as other people's child since she was a child, has become a poor little girl who no one cares about. The family is like this, let alone the person involved, Liu Sheng. This is one of the reasons why Liu Sheng is going out today. Okay, I'm going to go, and I won't be able to catch the car any later. Liu Sheng zipped up the suitcase and said to Liu Dahai and Zheng Yufen, "Mom and Dad, I won't come back after finishing my work in Shuhei. Go directly to the training camp in the provincial capital of Dongning. Chairman Xiao said that the camp entry ceremony will start in 2 days, and I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up when I come back." "How long will the training camp be?" "About a few months, I don't know too well. The length of the training camp is uncertain, sometimes it is long and sometimes it is short. According to Xiao Yuhi, the longest training camp for geniuses lasted even half a year. Then you should be careful when you are outside alone, and pay attention to the temperature and temperature. Do you have enough money on you? Do you want to bring some more clothes?" Zheng Yufen was worried and kept nagging. After a few more minutes of delay, Liu Sheng was able to go out smoothly. Before leaving, seeing Liu Qinghe sitting at the table and eating breakfast, Liu Sheng couldn't help but went up and rubbed her head vigorously. "Let's go. Remember to listen to your parents at home, work harder and avoid trouble." Unexpectedly, This time Lu King he didn't talk back to him, but gave a soft "Oh." 043 Mountain climbing, the correct way to open the natural breathing method. 4. Shuhei City, Wild Fox Mountain. In the lush forest, two figures are struggling to climb up. It was a young couple, wearing mountaineering suits, looking embarrassed and out of breath. It's all your fault. The tour guides have said that it's difficult to get here, and official first-level warriors may not be able to get there, so you have to go. Well now, I can't climb anymore. I guess we won't be able to reach the top of the mountain until it's dark. The girl in the couple stopped, stretched out her hand to support a tree, and began to complain about her boyfriend. The boy scratched his head in embarrassment, and argued, I was thinking that both of us are official first-level warriors, so let's try it out. Who knew it was so hard to walk? But it should be almost to the top of the mountain, hold on baby. The girl shook her head, I don't care, I can't walk anyway, either you carry me up, or I won't go. Don't make trouble, your blood value is higher than mine, let me carry you? Who is joking with you, can you recite it? No back. Seeing that this conversation was about to slowly turn into a quarrel, the boy between the two seemed to see something suddenly, his expression became serious all of a sudden, he pointed to the girl and said, Look, that person. Don't change the subject. The girl said so, but she still looked in the direction the boy pointed. I saw that on the mountain road they had walked before, a figure was approaching them. The speed of this figure is terrifying. The distance they took almost an hour to walk was shortening at a speed visible to the naked eye under this person's feet. Where the person passed by, the leaves and plants on both sides separated to the two sides, like a dark green wave, rushing towards them. Hiss! The girl gasped, her expression moved. Third level, at least a third-level warrior. This is too fast. And we know how difficult this road is all the way up. We two level 1 warriors are almost exhausted climbing here. He can still maintain such a fast speed now, and his energy and blood are so thick that it is frightening, maybe even a 4th level warrior. The boy also nodded heavily. Both of them are official warriors, and they still have vision in all aspects. Although because of the steepness of the mountain road, when viewed from above, they were blocked by the huge mountaineering bag on the other side's back, and the two of them couldn't see the appearance of that figure clearly. But one thing is certain. This must be a senior whose martial arts cultivation is far superior to theirs, and whose strength is between the 3rd and 4th ranks. As the figure continued to approach, the faces of the two also showed awe. Tacitly walked a few steps to the sides to make way for the visitor. Finally, the figure came close to the two of them. Just at the moment when the other party passed by the two of them. The eyes of the two people opened wide, as if they saw something extremely incredible, and they were extremely shocked. Ugh! The person carrying the mountaineering bag quickly ran past the two of them, and quickly left in the blink of an eye. I rely on it. The boy couldn't help but swear, and turned to look at his girlfriend. I am not wrong, right? His expression was a little dazed. The girl also opened her mouth wide, with a dazed expression, obviously not yet recovered from the huge shock. Just when the man passed them by, they see. The person they identified as a martial arts senior turned out to be an extremely young-looking boy. Looking at the appearance of only 17 or 18 years old at most, even the fluff on the lips has not been completely removed. So young? Level 3? Even a level 4 warrior. Boys are a little skeptical about life. Thinking of his experience of sore back and backache all the way up, he felt that all his martial arts practice in the past 10 years had been practiced on dogs. Puff breath. Sheng jumped over a young couple and rushed towards the top of the mountain. His chest rose and fell rhythmically, and the interval between each breath was far beyond ordinary people. His steps were as fast as cannonballs. With every step, a distance of 7 or 8 meters can be crossed, resulting in an extremely fast speed. I didn't expect that the power of the stars can be used in body skills. 4 times the power of stars, plus absorbing a lot of dream memories, my attainments in body skills have also reached the bottleneck period, and the speed is at least faster than that of normal second-level fighters. 5 times. There is also the natural breathing method. I only know now that the natural breathing method is used in this way. Although Liu Sheng's qi and blood value has increased again in the past few days, it is still far from reaching the level of a third-level warrior. He was able to maintain this speed all the way until now, all because of the natural breathing method. This method of breathing will be hailed as the strongest and supreme in the martial arts world in the next 10,000 years. When Liu Sheng's physical strength reached its limit, it finally burst out with incomparable brilliance. Every time Liu Sheng took a breath, it seemed as if he could absorb some energy from the air around him. These energies greatly supplemented his exhausted physical strength. Driven by the natural breathing method, Liu Sheng's body continuously burst out new strength. Whenever he feels that he can't hold on anymore, the natural breathing method can always squeeze new motivation in his muscles. Liu Sheng knows that this is a performance of breaking through the limits of the body time and time again. Boom! Liu Sheng's feet landed heavily on a platform. He has reached the top of Wild Fox Mountain. At this time, Liu Sheng was steaming all over his body, and his whole body exuded a high temperature far exceeding that of ordinary people. He seemed to be able to hear the sound of blood surging in his veins. Ask for monthly tickets and comments for flower evaluation tickets, thank you. 044 Breakthrough, teach you one thing for your parents, 5. Call. Liu let out a long breath, and he seemed to relax a lot. Breakthrough. Liu Sheng clenched his fist slightly, and could clearly feel that the blood value in his body had skyrocketed a lot. The increase in blood value means that my physique has also improved, and I can continue to practice with stellar strength. I guess. Liu Sheng felt it, and estimated, it can be 6 times stronger. This means that his extreme combat effectiveness index will skyrocket again. In fact, these are secondary. Liu Sheng felt that the biggest achievement of this mountaineering was to understand the magical effect of the natural breathing method. Quick recovery of physical fitness, greatly improved my endurance, and constantly stimulated my potential. This is fine in normal practice, but if it is used in battle, it will be truly terrifying. Just imagine, Liu Sheng who has the natural breathing method can recover his physical strength extremely quickly, and his endurance is several times, 10 times, or even dozens of times that of ordinary warriors. In the process, he can continue to break through his physical limits. Under such conditions, not to mention opponents at the same level, even enemies stronger than him may be slowly worn to death by him. It is simply strong when you meet the strong. Breakthrough of qi and blood, and the fresh medicinal material needed for Yang Sui pill. The purpose of coming to Shuhei City can be regarded as fulfilled. Liu Sheng is in a good mood. The reason he came to Shuhei City is to nourish the marrow pill. One of the medicinal materials of Yang Sui pill needs to be picked fresh to be effective, and this medicinal material can only be found on the Wild Fox Mountain. Liu Sheng came to Yehu Mountain to buy medicine, and ran up to climb the mountain by the way. Unexpectedly, mountaineering will also be rewarding, and both blood and stellar strength have broken through. The trail that Liu Sheng took when he came up was steep and difficult, and usually no one walks it, so there is no platform leading to the top of the mountain. Liu Sheng stood here and enjoyed the scenery for a while, feeling that his physical strength had almost recovered, and then walked slowly down another road. Going down is much slower than going up. When he reached the foot of the mountain, a middle-aged man with dark skin, short and thin, squatting on the side of the road and smoking a cigarette came up immediately when he saw him. "Young man, the medicine you want has been taken, and it is not far away. Come and get it with me." Liu Sheng nodded and followed the black and thin middle-aged man. Because the herbs that Liu Sheng wanted had to be freshly picked, he hired someone to help him pick them. This black and thin middle-aged man was the herbal picker he hired. The middle-aged He Shao took him to a quite remote place, and there were several bamboo medicine baskets on the ground. Liu Sheng saw 4 or 5 men standing not far away, as if they were waiting for something, and glanced at them from time to time. The medicine is in the basket. The black and thin middle-aged man casually picked up a medicine basket and handed it to Liu Sheng. There are lavender herbs in the medicine basket, some of which are still covered with dew and soil, and they seem to be freshly picked. Liu Sheng was very satisfied, and nodded, "Yes, I want 10 plants. According to the agreement before, each plant is 500, that is 5,000. Unexpectedly, the black and thin middle-aged man shook his head. "No, it's 1,000 per plant, and you have to buy all the medicine here." "What?" Liu Sheng frowned. The black and thin middle-aged man smiled at him, showing his yellow teeth. "Little friend, you are not a native of Shuhei." As he said that, several men who had stood watching from a distance walked over slowly and stared at Liu Sheng maliciously. They were obviously in the same group as the black and thin middle-aged man. Liu Sheng narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at the black and thin middle-aged man in front of him. "Are you planning to buy and sell by force?" The middle-aged He Shao sneered and said, "Little friend, let me teach you one thing for your parents. When you are out of the house, you have to confess when you should. You know? Don't think about calling the police, there is no monitoring and no one else here, and the police will not believe you as a foreigner when they come. Pay honestly and save us from being rude to you." Several men showed fierce looks on their faces, and they were about to surround Liu Sheng. Liu Sheng thought about it, bent down and picked up a fist-sized rock from the ground. It's the kind of large cobblestones that are used to pave roads and can be seen everywhere. You still want to resist? Brat! The black and thin middle-aged man's eyes were cold and he wanted to direct people to rush forward. But the next moment, the expression on his face froze. Swish, swish, swish. A large number of broken stones, no larger than half a pinky finger, fell from the gap between Liu Sheng's fingers. With the continuous rubbing of Liu Sheng's palm, these gravels were quickly ground into finer stone chips. The black and thin middle-aged man and the group of people behind him were stunned, their eyes were fixed, and they couldn't say a word. "What did you just say to me?" Liu Sheng looked at him calmly. "No. Nothing." The black and thin middle-aged man took a few steps back abruptly, his black face turned pale with fright, and he stammered, "Take everything, you don't need money. Not a penny." Behind him, the other men looked at Liu Sheng as if they were seeing a ghost, full of horror. Liu Sheng shook off the dirt on his hands, and the palms exposed under the dust were as clean as ever. Liu Sheng picked up a medicine basket casually, walked up to the middle-aged He Shao and said solemnly, "I will also teach you one thing for your parents. In business, you should be honest and honest." After finishing speaking, he walked away. The black and thin middle-aged man and his accomplice stood there in a daze for a long while, until Liu Sheng's figure had disappeared for a long time, and then suddenly a sentence popped out of his mouth. "Fuck, are high school students all fucking perverted these days? 045 Yang Sui pill, 6, plus more. Originally I wanted to pay, but you don't want it, so." Liu Sheng returned to the hotel where he was staying with the whole medicine basket. A little episode has no effect on him. Liu Sheng is very clear that the darkness in this world cannot be completely eliminated. But he can make himself strong. As long as it is strong enough, it will be like a light source. Wherever it goes, the darkness will automatically retreat and dissipate. Liu Sheng's original plan was to make 10 marrow-nourishing pills and try the effect first. But I got so many medicinal materials by accident, so I simply prepared more. The refinement of Yang Sui pill is much more difficult than that of Lingji's Wangxiu decoction. With his own strength, it may be difficult to complete all the refinements in a short period of time. So Liu Sheng thought of a way. He found many pharmacies in Shuhei City, and then handed over the processing of the medicinal materials needed for Yang Sui pill to these pharmacies. Doing so can save you a lot of effort. The main reason is that the step of processing medicinal materials has no technical content and is very cumbersome. Lu Sheng himself only needs to be responsible for the final preparation of the medicine. It's just that in this case, you need to travel to many places every time you get the medicine, but it can greatly reduce the possibility of prescription leakage. In this way, Lu Sheng began to live a full and regular life every day. Take medicine, make medicine, practice, and sleep. Then it's taking medicine, refining medicine. 3 days later, Lu Sheng was sitting on a hotel bed in a nightgown. He took out a black pill like Melisua from a glass vial, and gently threw it into his mouth. Chew, swallow. A few seconds later, a huge heat stream erupted from Lu Sheng's body. Like an earthworm, the heat burrowed into Lu Sheng's bones, bringing him an extremely tingling and numb feeling. Lu Sheng's body was not idle either, and he began to practice slowly following the movements of the star training technique, while also cooperating with the natural breathing method. As Lu Sheng practiced, a faint mist gradually began to fill the room, and the temperature became higher and higher. In the end, the huge room was filled with white mist, and the center of the room was filled with heat. It was as if a star was actually being conceived in the nebula. Call. Lu let out a long breath. The hot exhalation blows away the thick white mist in the room. Lu Sheng stood up and turned on the air conditioner to ventilate the air. While walking into the bathroom, he silently thought about the marrow-nourishing pill he just took. The nourishing effect of Yang Sui pill on qi and blood is many times better than that of Lingji's Wangxue decoction. What's more, after Lu Sheng took one pill, he couldn't completely absorb the medicinal power of Yang Sui pill in a single practice, and there was still a lot left in his body. You must know that he practiced stellar body refining technique, plus natural breathing method. It is conceivable how terrifying the medicinal effect of Yang Sui pill is. No wonder Yang Sui Dan is a high-grade tonic, and Lingji's Wangxue decoction is just a medicinal soup. Lu Sheng only recently learned about this tonic classification. He was afraid that the refining of Yang Sui pill would be too difficult, and the failure rate of his own preparation would be too high, so he specially hunted down the memories of several zombies who had been pharmacists in the dream space. This kind of people is still easy to find, you can basically find them in any pharmacy. And Lu Sheng's knowledge about medicines comes from the memories of these pharmacists. Even after 10,000 years of martial arts, Yang Sui pill is one of the most suitable supplements for warriors below the 3rd level. Because Yang Sui pill not only replenishes qi and blood, but also has a certain tempering effect on the bones of the user. And the process for a 3rd level warrior to be promoted to a 4th level warrior is the process of a warrior fighting hard. Currently there are 2 supplements that Lu Sheng has been taking. Lingji's Wangxue decoction and Yang Sui pill. The former has a tempering effect on the skin of warriors, while the latter is aimed at bones. In a sense, in the process of taking these 2 tonics, Lu Sheng has already been subconsciously and subtly exercising his muscles and bones. The benefits of this will not be felt until he is promoted to the 3rd level. The time it takes him to complete the 3rd to 4th level is definitely much less than that of ordinary people. A total of more than 50 batches of medicinal materials were prepared, and 25 marrow-washing pills were finally refined. It seems like a lot, but I don't know how long I will stay in the training camp. It may not be enough. Lu Sheng looked at the several vials filled with marrow-washing pills in front of him and thought to himself. The production rate of nearly half is actually quite high. Judging from the memories of the few pharmacists he absorbed, it is thankful that a 1st and 2nd level pharmacist can refine the marrow-washing pill successfully once in 4 times. It stands to reason that Lu Sheng, a novice who has just been in contact with pharmaceuticals for a short time, shouldn't have such a success rate, and he doesn't know what caused it. The same is true for the preparation of Lingji's Wangxue soup before, and the success rate is frighteningly high. Lu Sheng didn't think he would be a pharmaceutical genius. He speculated that it might be related to the fact that he had absorbed a large amount of dream memory, and his mental strength and other aspects were much stronger than normal people. Liu Sheng tidied up everything in the room, and carefully put a few bottles of Yang Sui pill in the suitcase to prevent it from being broken. If it wasn't for these 2 days that he needed to rush to the provincial capital of Dongning to attend the entrance ceremony of the talent training camp as soon as possible, he really wanted to stay here for a while. After all, only Shuhei City has the fresh medicinal materials for refining Zisui pill. If you want to replenish it after eating, you have to come to Shuhei again next time. It is very troublesome to go back and forth. Thanks for the data support. Add a new chapter. 046 Perfect Martial Arts, 1. Dream Space. Liu Sheng shuttled through the dilapidated streets of the 1359 base. Wherever he passed, the zombies wandering around unconsciously fell down one after another and quickly weathered. Straight black lines of smoke, like suckling swallows returning to their nests, drilled into Liu Sheng's body one after another. Call. Liu Sheng stopped, looked at the empty street behind him, and found a place to sit down and rest. During this time, he began to consciously clean up the 1359 base. Clean up those weak zombies first, leaving those strong bones behind, and then slowly chew them. At present, this cleanup work has just progressed to 2 streets. Too much absorption, need to digest. During the cleaning process, Liu Sheng absorbed too many memory fragments, which contained a large number of useful and useless memories. These memories flooded into his mind, causing his brain to feel strongly swollen. Liu Sheng closed his eyes and began to practice crystal view thoughts. In his mind, a human figure completely carved out of crystal is gradually taking shape. Only the feet are left unfinished. As Liu Sheng continued to visualize, the outline of this human figure gradually became clear and clear. Finally, a complete crystal human form appeared in Liu Sheng's mind. The body of this crystal humanoid is filled with a lot of black and grey impurities. It is so dense that almost the entire human form is dyed black. Puff breath breath. Liu Sheng's chest rose and fell, breathing continuously following the rhythm of the natural breathing method. Strangely, the crystal figure in his mind seemed to be breathing in sync with his body. With the continuous breathing of the crystal figure, the black impurities in the crystal were discharged little by little. During this process, Liu Sheng clearly felt a burst of coolness in his brain. The countless memories he absorbed before, the parts that are useless to him, are being cleaned out in large quantities. And those useful to him, martial arts knowledge, comprehension, skills, and experience. It is also being sorted out continuously. Movement, boxing, leg, palm, spear, sword. Liu Sheng has hunted and killed too many zombies, so he has mastered many martial arts skills. At this time, under the combing of this clear stream, all these martial arts are improving steadily and rapidly. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. For example, although the previous Liu Sheng obtained the memory inheritance of these martial arts skills, but these skills are only stored in his brain, in memory. Heaped together in a mess, with no regularity. Before Liu Sheng, when he wanted to use it, he searched through the pile of memories. But now, the brain began to take the initiative to process these memories into different categories, actively helping Liu Sheng's body absorb and digest. If it is said that Liu Sheng's countless memories in the dream space are a legacy, then from this moment on, Liu Sheng can truly inherit this legacy. Each martial artist chooses a different direction of practice according to his own talent. Some are good at kicks, some are good at boxing, some are good at weapons. No one can do it, and at the same time all aspects of martial arts are concurrently studied, and there are very few people who concurrently study several disciplines. Because manpower is exhausted, how can one person's power be comprehensive? But now, an exception occurs. Liu Sheng, who can inherit the opponent's previous martial arts by absorbing memories, is beginning to move towards an incredible and unprecedented situation step by step. Perhaps, one day, a human being who is good at all martial arts may really be born in the human race. And this person is Sheng. I stand on the shoulders of countless people. I am comprehensive and flawless. This is my martial art. Perfect martial arts. Sheng stared at the crystal human figure that kept breathing and became clearer in his mind, and thought silently, it turns out that this is the correct way to open crystal view thoughts. When the crystal figure in his mind became completely clear, the memories left in Sheng's brain were also thoroughly sorted out. Terrible. Sheng savored everything about himself carefully, and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. This terrible sentence is what he said to himself. After sorting out all the memories of Sheng, there are more than 10 martial arts that have reached the bottleneck in his body at this time, including leg skills, palm skills, finger skills, spear skills, sword skills, knife skills. There are 2 kinds of martial arts beyond the bottleneck, namely body skills and boxing skills. Among them, the realm of boxing is infinitely approaching the next new realm. Before I was able to achieve 10 times the combat power of the blood value standard in the martial artist assessment, and now the star's power has broken through to 6 times. If there is another breakthrough in the realm of boxing, how many times should the combat power skyrocket? This memory combing helped Sheng a lot. Directly improve his skills in all aspects, and the overall strength has been enhanced by how much? Not only that, after a thorough combing, Sheng felt that his brain was a lot clearer. The speed of thinking about problems, the efficiency of understanding and absorbing new knowledge, etc. have all improved a lot. Even, some aspects of the body have undergone some wonderful changes. 047 Psychiatrist, on the high-speed rail, 2. There are 92 zombies in the next street, among which there are 6 hard bones that need to be cleaned up separately. Sheng closed his eyes and said to himself. When he opened his eyes, there was a strange light in them. This is the new ability that Sheng got after getting a thorough introduction to crystal ideas. Now I can detect any object within 100 meters around me through obstacles, and even the structure of the concrete wall underground, I can see clearly. This ability is amazing. It feels to Sheng as if a perspective hanger is turned on in the game. Within 100 meters, every detail is complete. Using it in battle is to predict the enemy in advance. I can clearly see the slightest change in the opponent's pupils, muscles. Sheng was very excited. He understood that he had entered the most mysterious realm of spiritual power in martial arts practice. The main practice of crystal conception is spiritual power. The practice of spiritual power is 100 times more difficult than the cultivation of blood and combat power, and I have a unique condition, which is to absorb the memory of zombies. These memory fragments, after being tempered and purified by the crystal concept, are the best spiritual food. Sheng turned on the optical brain that he carried with him, and entered spiritual power as a keyword search in the optical brain. As a result, a large amount of information was queried. It turns out that as early as 100 years before martial arts, there were spiritual powers, and there were even people who specialized in practicing spiritual power. It's just that such people were very rare. Until the late stage of martial arts civilization, a large number of martial arts specifically aimed at cultivating spiritual power were abandoned. Only when it is developed, the number of such people will gradually increase. According to the data, such people are collectively referred to as psychologists. Like martial arts, psychic masters are also divided into many levels. It's just that it is very difficult to be promoted as a psychiatrist, and the combat power that can be displayed is also extremely terrifying. According to the data, a first-level psychiatrist who is proficient in spiritual combat skills can easily deal with 10 or more first-level warriors, and can even challenge fourth-level warriors. It's too perverted, it's simply a god-level hidden profession in the game. Sheng couldn't help sighing. He was curious as to what level his current mental power strength had reached, but without professional mental power testing equipment, he couldn't judge it at all. Judging from the limit range alone, I have already reached the level of a second-level psychiatrist. I don't know about the strength. Base number 1359 has special equipment for testing mental strength, but they are all placed in the most central headquarters of the base. Lu Sheng's current location is about tens of kilometers away from the central headquarters. In the middle, God knows how many terrifying zombies wandered around. Although Lu Sheng is the fire seed chosen by civilization, these zombies have no memory, so they should beat him or beat him. We can only talk about it later. Lu Sheng temporarily let go of this idea with a little regret, and then searched for the fighting skills of the psychiatrist through his optical brain. The result shows insufficient access rights. All right. Lu Sheng was a little speechless, his 2 levels of authority were still too low. You have to become stronger. On the one hand, you can increase your authority to unlock more skills in the Tinder resource library. On the other hand, you can also challenge stronger zombies and obtain stronger memory inheritance. Lu Sheng secretly made up his mind. Before that, the cultivation of spiritual strength could only rely on crystal conception ideas. Of course, he can also try to study it himself. It would be even better if we could be lucky enough to kill a zombie who was a psychiatrist during his lifetime and inherit its memory. On the high-speed train from Shuhei City to the provincial capital of Dongning. In 2 rows facing each other, sat 2 men and 2 women, both of whom looked very young. If my parents hadn't forced me to go to this kind of cram school, saying that the teacher was an old instructor who retired from the previous extreme martial arts school, a 5th-level peak martial artist, I really didn't want to go there. Anyway, my chi and blood value has already exceeded 1.3, and it is easy to reach the standard of a 1st-level warrior before the college entrance examination. But if it can make the strength stronger, why not do it? Say yes. On the seat, a boy with an average appearance and wearing a famous brand was talking endlessly. The fat girl with a round face and glasses sitting opposite him couldn't help but nodded, with a trace of admiration on her face. But the girl sitting next to him had an indifferent expression, and there was even a look of boredom flashing in her eyes. Li Yuhan was almost annoyed to death by the boy around him who showed his superiority in all aspects inside and out. It seems that with a chi and blood value of 1.3, it would be awesome to enroll in a martial arts cram school run by a level 5 martial artist. If the other party didn't take the initiative to mention it, and she didn't intend to learn about it, maybe Li Yuhan would look at this boy differently. But showing off this matter over and over again will only make her more disgusted. But Li Yuhan was too embarrassed to tell the other party to shut up, so she could only choose to endure silently. But even when encountering such annoying flies, Li Yuhan didn't regret taking this high-speed train too much. The reason is, the other boy sitting directly opposite Li Yuhan was very good-looking. 048 Where is the special car for your training camp? 3. That boy got into the car with Li Yuhan and sat opposite by the window. She looks about the same age as her. The boy was sleeping with his head lightly leaning against the window. Li Yuhan can look at each other unscrupulously. The boy's skin is very fair and delicate, but he doesn't have the slightest bit of a creamy niche. Because his facial features are very tough and masculine. The bridge of the nose is high and the brows are deep, giving people a sense of beauty. It happens to be Li Yuhan's favorite type. It was the existence of this boy that Li Yuhan could endure the chattering noise of the fly next to her, and did not choose to switch seats. Just when Li Yuhan was quietly admiring the other party's prosperous beauty, the high-speed train vibrated slightly, and the boy leaning on the window moved and slowly opened his eyes. Li Yuhan originally planned to look away immediately, but the other party's suddenly opened eyes attracted her firmly. What kind of eyes are those? Li Yuhan swore that it was the first time she saw such beautiful eyes when she was so old. It is as clear as crystal, without any impurities, and as deep as a starry sky. There seems to be a strange light in the center of the pupil. The boy's eyes seemed to be 2 black whirlpools, which absorbed Li Yuhan's mind little by little. How are you? Li Yuhan suddenly came back to her senses, and suddenly found that the handsome boy had already approached her, just in time to ask herself. Ah! I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm lost in thought. Li Yuhan's pretty face flushed instantly, and she explained in a panic, feeling her ears burning. What a shame! Staring at others so directly, you don't think I'm an nympho? Li Yuhan wailed in her heart, wishing that a crack would suddenly appear under the high-speed rail seat for herself to slip in. It's fine. Sheng breathed a sigh of relief. He had just escaped from the dreamland, and the spiritual power he was cultivating hadn't had time to fully recover, so he didn't know what effect it would have on ordinary people. Hi, my name is Huang Yuan, we are chatting, are you from Shuhei too? The round-faced girl sitting next to her took the initiative to greet Sheng, which relieved Li Yuhan's embarrassment temporarily. Sheng was not too impressed with this kind of high-speed rail forum, but he shook his head politely and said, My name is Sheng, and I'm not from Shuhei. I'm from Beihe City next door. No wonder your accent doesn't sound like a native of Shuhei. The boy next to Li Yuhan also joined in the conversation, My name is Lu Feng, I'm from Shuhei No. 1 Middle School, and my energy and blood are 1.3. Speaking of the last sentence, the boy named Lu Feng raised his chin unconsciously, showing a little pride. For this kind of person who talks about his blood value, Sheng thinks it is no different from the kind of shabby who hangs a thumb-thick gold necklace all over his neck, for fear that others will not know that he is an upstart. But out of politeness, Sheng nodded at the other party. At this time, Li Yuhan also recovered from her embarrassment, blushing and whispered, My name is Li Yuhan, from Shuhei No. 2 Middle School. Haha, then we are really destined, we are about the same age, and we happen to take the same high-speed train to the provincial capital of Dongning. Lu Feng smiled and said, What do you all go to the provincial capital of Dongning? I go to a cram school, which is opened by an old teacher with a level 5 strength. It is said that he has brought out several city champions. Sheng resisted being speechless, and replied honestly, I went to a training camp, and I was working in Shuhei before. Li Yuhan and Huang Yuan also stated their respective goals. In fact, the purpose of the four people is similar, either to go to tutoring or to go to special training. After all, they are all approaching the age of the college entrance examination, and they are all worried about the blood value. In the ensuing chat, Lu Feng naturally took over the dominance of the topic. He seems to have a lot of ideas about Li Yuhan, and has been trying to get Li Yuhan's attention. Of course, the words and means used are so clumsy, not to mention Li Yuhan, even Sheng couldn't bear to look directly at her. Only Huang Yuan, the most innocent of the four, listened with great interest, and from time to time let out admiration and admiration. Because the high-speed rail is about to arrive at the station, it is difficult to enter the dreamland again, and Sheng is quite bored. He could only listen to Lu Feng's chattering bragging, staring at Li Yuhan who was sitting opposite him, imagining in his heart that at this moment Li Yuhan's favorability for Lu Feng kept popping up -11. Finally, with a pleasant sound, the high-speed train has arrived. Dongning City, the capital of Dongning Province. Call. Stepping off the high-speed rail, Sheng let out a long breath. The high-speed rail compartment is too stuffy, and it is not comfortable to sit for too long. Yuhan, do you want to take a taxi? My cram school has a special car to pick me up. I can let the car drop you off. Beside, after getting off the car, Lu Feng continued to show his hospitality to Li Yuhan. He even took care of Sheng and Huang Yuan. You two can go together, too. Although the tone sounds reluctant, Li Yuhan didn't appreciate it, and refused decisively, It's too much trouble, I don't need it. No trouble, Yuxi, why don't we add a Weibo first? Then Sheng and Huang Yuan watched Lu Feng leave the platform like a licking dog chasing a goddess in a third-rate idol drama. The four of them walked to the gate of the high-speed rail station. There were a lot of private cars and taxis parked here, as well as some group buses. One of them is a commercial bus with a unique shape and a banner of Special for Talent Training Camp hanging on the body, which is particularly eye-catching. In order to show his erudition, Lu Feng took the initiative to say to Lu Sheng and others, "Did you see that car? If I guessed correctly, this car is the special pickup for the students of the talent training camp held by Dongning provincial capital this time." Buzz. Huang Yuan next to him asked curiously, "What is a talent training camp?" Lu Feng shook his head and said, "I don't know too well, I just know that it is a very powerful training camp, which brings together all the martial arts geniuses in the entire capital of Dongning province. No more than 10 people can participate in each city. There is a boss in the class next to me, whose qi and blood value has broken 1.5, which has almost reached the standard of a first-level official warrior. In this way, it was also wiped down." Lu Feng sighed sincerely in an extremely envious tone. In a word, the people who can enter this training camp are all the top geniuses, the kind of god-level figures who are so awesome. Wow! Huang Yuan let out a deep exclamation. Even Li Yuhan's interest was aroused, with a curious and fascinated look on his face. At this moment, Lu Feng glanced at Lu Sheng at the side, and seeing Lu Sheng's silent appearance, his heart suddenly moved. "Lu Sheng, didn't you come to Dongning to participate in the training camp? Where's the special car for your training camp?" Just finished introducing a top-notch training camp, and then asked about the training camp reported by Lu Sheng, obviously with a bit of teasing in it. Lu Feng did it on purpose. Who made this boy named Lu Sheng so handsome? The beautiful Li Yuhan was secretly staring at him all the way. "See if I don't give you a bad smell." Lu Feng thought to himself. "Please ask for a flower evaluation ticket, a monthly ticket, etc., thank you. 049 My car has arrived, 4. Before Lu Sheng could speak, Li Yuhan frowned and spoke. "Lu Feng, is this interesting to you? You are a disgusting person, right?" Lu Feng quickly explained with a playful smile, "No, I just asked casually to find out how Lu Sheng will get there. If there is no car, I will let our cram school car take him." Li Yuhan's face was full of disgust. At this moment, Lu Sheng, who had kept his mouth shut all this time, suddenly spoke. "No, the car for our training camp has arrived." Well, Lu Feng was taken aback, he didn't expect Lu Sheng to have such an answer. "Where is it?" "Lu Sheng, I'll go with you, if the special car from your training camp can take me along the way." Li Yuhan spoke quickly, as if expressing her support for Lu Sheng, and by the way gave Lu Feng a hard look. Lu Sheng frowned, thought for a while and said, "I don't know if it's okay, I have to ask first." "Okay, I will wait for you." Li Yuhan looked desperate. Lu Feng's face on the side was almost green with anger, so he was the one who was self-defeating. No matter how slow Huang Yuan's brain was, she realized that there was a conflict between Lu Feng and Lu Sheng. On the one hand, she thinks that Mr. Lu is very nice, good-looking and good-tempered, and on the other hand, she wants to rub Lu Feng's car. For a moment, he hesitated and didn't know who to help. At this time, the three of them noticed that Lu Sheng moved and walked quickly in one direction. It seems to be asking for a special car. This kid really has a special car to pick him up. Lu Feng was talking bitterly, but in the middle of the sentence, he suddenly got stuck. Not only him, Li Yuhan and Huang Yuan were also stunned, and slowly opened their eyes wide. "I saw that Lu Sheng went straight to the Dongning provincial talent training camp, which they discussed just now, which was defined by Lu Feng as a top-notch talent training camp that only god-level figures in each city can participate in. They saw Lu Sheng walking in front of the special car, a person got out of the car, the two talked for a while, and then Lu Sheng walked back slowly. Let's go, the teacher who led the team agreed. Lu Sheng greeted Li Yuhan with a calm face, and walked up to Huang Yuan by the way, Huang Yuan, too. Li Yuhan nodded in a trance, and then followed behind Lu Sheng. Huang Yuan followed quickly with a shocked and exaggerated expression on her face. Among the four of them, there was only one left, Lu Feng, who stood there in a daze. From the beginning to the end, Liu Sheng didn't give him a second glance. Hold! Lu Feng suddenly came back to his senses, and yelled in disbelief, "Fake, I'm just pretending to be with Lao Tzu. I'll see how you get kicked out of the car later." Then, he watched helplessly as Liu Sheng led Li Yuhan and Huang Yuan into the uniquely shaped commercial bus with the banner of Genius Training Camp. The door of the passenger car was closed quickly, then started, and went away. The whole process was extremely smooth and natural, without any episodes or accidents. There is no plot that Lu Feng is most looking forward to. Now Lu Feng was completely dumbfounded. He was wondering if there was a possibility of having the same name, perhaps there was more than one genius training camp in Dongning City, and Liu Sheng participated in another one. But unfortunately, Lu Feng once saw a real genius training camp pick up and drop off the trainees, just in front of the Shuhei Martial Arts Association, and it was exactly the same as the one on Liu Sheng. So that is to say, I just bragged all the way to a god-level figure who is qualified to participate in the top martial arts genius gathering in the capital of Dongning, and before I parted, I made him feel disgusted? Lu Feng was confused. Li Yuhan got into the car, sat down, and the car drove a long way, but she was still in a daze. Last minute Lu Feng was still talking about how high the talent training camp is, and how many people can enter this training camp and get in this car. In the next minute, Liu Sheng led her up. Casually, it's like getting on the bus in front of your own house. The process is wonderful and mysterious, as if in a dream. Huang Yuan was also in the same mood as her, but her expression was much more exaggerated than hers. Her eyes were still wide open, and her face was full of lingering shock. On the other hand, Liu Sheng remained calm. After getting into the car, he faced the window and quietly watched the scenery outside the window. I have to say that the conditions of the talent training camp are quite good. It is a special car, it is really a special car. Except for the three of Liu Sheng, there was no one in the car. Only one driver in white gloves was driving intently. On the way, I specifically asked about the destinations of Li Yuhan and Huang Yuan, and then sent them to the place one by one. Liu Sheng. Before getting off the car, Li Yuhan bit her lip, hesitating whether she should ask Liu Sheng for contact information. But before she had the courage to say it, Liu Sheng was already waving goodbye to her. Looking at the slowly starting bus, Li Yuhan suddenly felt empty inside. She had a strong premonition that after this time, it might be difficult for her to see Liu Sheng again in her life. The transparent car window reflected Liu Sheng's clean and handsome side face, which sparkled in Li Yuhan's eyes as always. But Li Yuhan knew very well how big a gap existed between her and Liu Sheng. Getting on and off the car may be two worlds at all. She is like a commoner girl who accidentally broke into the prince's ball. After a strange period, she is destined to return to reality. Arrive. As the car stopped slowly, the driver turned his head to remind him. Liu Sheng nodded, and got off the bus with his suitcase. What is presented in front of you is a heavily guarded huge military base. Thanks for all kinds of data support, thank you. 050 Relational Households and Camp Entry Assessment, 5. Both sides of the base are blocked by high electrified wire fences, and in front of them is a closed big iron gate. Soldiers in uniform stood guard at the gate. There were also a dozen boys and girls who seemed to be about the same age as Liu Sheng, and they were also carrying suitcases and bags. Liu Sheng noticed that these people all wore a brass-colored badge on their left chests. First-class warrior badge. It's a pity that Liu Sheng's second-level martial artist badge was left at home, and was kept by his mother Zhang Yufen as a treasure, otherwise he could take it out now to pretend to be a bully. From Beihe City, delivered. The driver left a word, started the car, turned around and drove away. A group of teenagers and girls were left staring at Liu Sheng and whispering. The one from Beihe City? Didn't the one from Beihe City go in a long time ago, why is there one left behind? I guess it came in later. I didn't even see that I didn't even pass the official martial artist assessment. Beihe City has always been the lowest in the province in the college entrance examination. Hee. Liu Sheng listened to these arguments, his face was calm, and his heart was still. With his current strength, these brats who are just up to the standard of a formal warrior are not his opponents even if they are all up. For this kind of people who are far weaker than himself and have no vision, he feels that they are worthless even if he takes one more look at them. After waiting for a while, a small door under the gate of the base opened from the inside, and a middle-aged man in military uniform with a square face and a serious face came out. He took the roster and counted the number of people, and finally his eyes fell on Liu Sheng. Who are you? The middle-aged man looked down at his hand, raised his head and said, the Liu Sheng mentioned by Xiao Yuhe, head of the Beihe Martial Arts Association. Liu Sheng nodded. The middle-aged man looked clear. Xiao Yuhe, head of the Beihe City Martial Arts Association, specifically mentioned to him that a student in Beihe City didn't come with a special car this time, so let him pay attention. Now people are here. The middle-aged man made such a special remark, and the taste immediately changed in the ears of other boys and girls on the field. It turns out that he is a person under the special care of the head of the Beihe City Martial Arts Association. No wonder. It's amazing, the relationship with the head of the Municipal Martial Arts Association. Some people are eccentric. Liu Sheng was fine, but the middle-aged man in military uniform raised his eyebrows and sternly said, "Keep quiet." A group of people immediately shut their mouths obediently. The middle-aged man counted the number of people again, making sure that there is no problem, and then said to Liu Sheng, "Then you go in with the people from Qingyuan City, and go to your camp entry ceremony." Others were fine, but Liu Sheng got a different taste from this sentence. A batch goes in? What's the meaning? Does this so-called entry ceremony have to go in batches? However, even though he felt that there was something weird about it, Liu Sheng followed the team obediently, and walked into the gate of the base under the leadership of the middle-aged man. After entering, there is a big playground with many buildings in the distance. The middle-aged man led them around the playground, and finally came to a low room. "Put down all the accompanying luggage, and someone will come and collect it for you later." The middle-aged man gave the order indifferently, pointed to a small door in front of the low house, and said to everyone, "Go in one by one." The students in Qingyuan City didn't know why, but they obediently obeyed the middle-aged man's instructions and walked into the small door one by one. Liu Sheng came last. When everyone entered the small gate, the iron gate behind them closed heavily with a bang. There was the sound of chains being locked outside the door. The faces of the students changed a little. At this time, the middle-aged man's voice sounded again. "Go to the opposite exit, and you will pass the camp entrance examination. If you can't get there, wherever you come from, let me go back there." "What?" Someone immediately yelled, "Didn't it be agreed that it was just an entry ceremony? Why is there still an assessment?" Before he finished speaking, he heard a click sound from the machine. The floor of the small room where Liu Sheng and the others stood was completely split from the middle. A group of boys and girls couldn't stand upright and fell down screaming. Before the mechanism on the ground was activated, Liu Sheng had already noticed it. To be precise, from the first second that Liu Sheng stepped into this room, he already knew that there was a mechanism on the surface of this room. Besides, below the room is a narrow and complicated passage. Boom! Bang bang! The sound of the body falling to the ground was accompanied by a few slightly painful moans. The boys and girls landed one after another. After all, they were all first-level official warriors. Even though they were a little caught off guard, most of them reacted quickly after the mechanism was activated. Only a few were too flustered and chose to land on their backs or butts. Liu Sheng landed firmly on the ground without even making a sound. His mental power wrapped around his feet like flowing water, and then provided a support force upwards. The process that led to his whereabouts just now can be described as floating. This is one of the ways of using the spiritual power that Liu Sheng figured out in the dream space. Although he can't learn special mental power manipulation skills now, Liu Sheng has still researched some subtle uses of mental power. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audio Wave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.